All right, there we go. Sorry for being so late, but I guess as I said it a bit ago, yeah, shocker. You know, having a late night stream kind of pushes uh, pushes forward any of my other work that has to happen, because you know I still needed sleep. I still needed to rest a bit, and yeah, I woke up late, did my things, and yeah, a lot of the post-stream work that I usually do the day after, which is mostly, you know, trying to look for clips, doing that kind of stuff, got pushed really close to, you know, my starting the time for the stream. So, yeah, that's kind of what happened, unfortunately, so I had to work on that. I wanted at the very least to have the clips collected and just edited. I only dealt with the upload for the one for today. I'll deal with the other ones in the coming days, but yeah, it's fine. That's and that's kind of the go-to idea. That's usually the thing that I'll do, but yeah, it happens anyways. Yeah, sorry about that. It's just, you know, one of the rare occasions where I do a later night kind of stream, and it does happen like that. It's mostly sporadic, just because it's not in my how I usually schedule things, so because of that, it being a bit more of the cuff and not necessarily having an idea for how long it's running. It's just it takes a bit to plan around, or more specifically, I don't usually plan around it because it's not within the routine. But anyhow, it was a lot of fun. I did enjoy my time with the you know, with all the crew yesterday, and to be fair, got a few decent. That's kind of the thing, is which, you know, is to be expected within not just games like Lethal Company, but especially with co-op style games. It's shenanigans are gonna happen and are gonna be afoot. So clip-worthy moments usually appear quite often. I made like a selection of 3 that I got together, so you know, that's I think that's gonna be fine. I'm still kind of keeping it a bit simple in my, you know, selection process, and I don't comb too heavily on or edit too heavily within the clips or anything of the sorts, just to kind of ease the process. But you know, the moment I start getting more per stream, it's still gonna take a bit longer. But yeah, it's been fun, and as I said before, it's not gonna be the only stream and that was with some intent for charity, more specifically on the charity was more on Ray's side. I don't know too much of how, you know, the whole sharing collab thing with Twitch works, just because I have not really used it since they've introduced it. I've not really had the opportunity, but I know there's like the shared chatting function and all that, and so I'm not sure if you those of you from the chat, because from my perspective it didn't look like it, and so I don't think it was. If any of you from your chat, from this chat, were able to view anything from Ray's when it comes to like charity or anything of that sort, in case you were able to show some support of any kind. But either way, that's gonna be however it is, I'm still glad that I was able to participate and be there to help out and have a few fun time moments. But yeah, as I said, it's not the only one. To Tuesday next week, I'm also going to be part of a ttrpg one-shot that is also for charity, alongside with Arcadeo as our game master, Unplugged Professor, Twix or 2x4, and also Sophia Samsara, which are going to be the other 3 players alongside with me. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Do I still have the Arca's? I know Arca made a post. Oh, there it is. Yeah, The Witch is Dead, which is a TTRPG one-shot made by. Did you show it? I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly how. Or show it. I'm not sure exactly how you would pronounce that. username, but it is from my understanding, it is a creator who also did the popular Honey Heist. Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun to work on and to be part of, and it's gonna happen on the 28th at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, or I think as usually a lot of people peeps are saying, it's also I think it's usually within my normal starting hours, so that's gonna be fine. And fortunately, a lot of the peeps were okay with the time, because I'm honestly glad it was a TTRPG, one of the rare times where I was part of a TTRPG that is not at odd hours. To be fair, the actual play with the escalation crew has been shifted, from my perspective, at the very least, at a decent hour, so I don't have a problem with those late hour streams, so that's fine. But this one being literally on the dot with kind of when I usually start on my streams on Tuesday is kind of shocking. So yeah, I guess within the usual schedule, you're gonna see me on Arca's channel, on their on his Twitch, and do all those fun shenanigan things. But yeah, as I said before, because of that, they're not gonna be part of it on here on my end, because it's a TTRPG stream. There's not anything from my perspective, because there's no, like, I don't think there are gonna be any game elements. I don't think Arca has shown of the sorts from what I've seen at it so far. Not really, so I don't think there's gonna be too much about that. I think we should okay-ish, and we'll have to figure out and see. But yeah, I don't think there's gonna be anything gamey, because it's a one-shot. It's from what I've seen, it's kind of simplistic, which is not a bad thing when it comes to like how it's set up, how it's structured in a function, because it's its own mini kind of. Sorry, John caught me. It's kind of like a mini TTRPG system, so it's not gonna be too complex. Built specifically for this one shot, so that's gonna be fine. But yeah, it looks like it's gonna be fun. So yeah, excited for that one. But as I said, nothing on my end. I don't think there's anything worth showing from my perspective. So because of that, there's gonna be no stream on Tuesday, and instead I'm gonna shift one stream. The Tuesday stream, I'm gonna shift it earlier, and I'm gonna do it on Monday instead, which is gonna be our usual Final Fantasy stream, which I think it's fitting. It's our usual chill thing, and nothing to worry about, so that's completely fine. But yeah, because of that, a bit of the schedule has been shifted to accommodate to that with that, so that's completely fine. From my understanding, it's gonna run within-ish, like 3-ish hours, something like that, 3 to 4 hours. So kind of what some of my shorter-esque streams usually go for, so that's fine. It's within expected time frame, so that's okay. Aside from that, yeah, not much else on that. But yeah, another charity thing that I'm gonna be part of, and as I said before, this is my way of participating and showing support for the charity, because as you can see here with all the coffee things and all that, I am still pushing on my end to have some finances covered. I'm really close of having it all covered. I just need a bit, but after that I'm gonna be in the clear, and not gonna bother heavily you with anything of this end when it comes to support. So once you help me out on this end, I'm gonna be okay-ish and in the clear, and we should be good. But yeah, that's kind of the usual general thing about these shenanigans. Not much else, although something that could be happening, or at the least some point in the future, and I'm not sure exactly when in the future. Definitely gonna expect maybe on occasion some more collab things, because we had some fun times with the friendos yesterday, and not necessarily just Lethal, other things. I was talking with Vriska about collabing on some other things. It's just a problem that apparently all the people participating are across time zones, some EU, some US. So we have to we have to figure out and have to kind of align ourselves within an hourly an hourly time that is convenient-esque for most of us, or at the very least to a point where how much the hours were kind of, you know, sacrificing or pushing beyond our kind of slightly over the comfort are decent or are not too annoying. Because as I said before, like something like I did yesterday, I'm completely fine if I do it on rare occasions, but not something that should be a consistent or everyday type of thing. Although I did kind of thought about it and said like, even though, you know, there are some fondness and to some extent or another, if I was still within my UK time zone when I still was living in the UK, that would actually make it a lot. Honestly, those extra 2 hours that I you know, shift forward, or technically backwards, forward, that I shift backwards help me a lot. Because honestly, that would make it a lot more comfortable. Because in most scenarios, the end hours that even with some of the US peeps that I usually stream are okay. Like, yeah, they're still kind of late night, you know, post midnight hours, but they're kind of skirting literally at the limit that I'm comfortable with. So I'll be more willing to do it that way. But unfortunately, I'm no longer no longer living in the country of the United Kingdom. I'm not sure if I ever have the opportunity in the future, because now I think next year my settlement is out the window. And like my pre-settlement scheme is out the window, so I'll have to apply for like some different means to get into the country. I haven't even looked into any visa stuff or anything like that, so who knows. Then after that, there's also the so yeah, technically, well, to be fair, there's another place that would make it easier, that is still within EU, make it have it achievable, which is Ireland, technically. Although that's that still makes it a bit difficult, because, you know, although there was like an opportunity back in the day, but nothing came out of it, which is unfortunate. But oh well, life is life, and all that. Maybe, who knows? But yeah, because I'm stuck kind of within the Eastern European time zones, it makes it a bit more uncomfortable for me. Some collab hours, but hopefully we can figure out something. That'd be neat to have some more consistent collab stuff aside from just my usual things, just, you know, for the shenanigans, because it's fun to also play with peeps and not just be me here out in my corner, which is not something that I, you know, dislike or anything. I'm fine to also do my own thing and not necessarily be constantly out here, you know, streaming with other people. That's completely okay with me, but, you know, from time to time, it never hurts. And I think it's fun for all involved. Yeah, that should be okay. Yeah. Yeah. I was quickly looking at some. Actually, considering that I still talked about whole I would load, that would there we go. I don't know why it's really slow all of a sudden. Kinda weird. There we go. Just in case anyone also want to know a bit of details of the event, I'm just gonna link it here for ARC and all that, because that's gonna be a lot of fun, and with all the people involved as well. And as I said before, expect that during these weeks and these days, if everything aligns correctly, I'm just gonna be jumping at other people's shows, go to their thing and all that. We might have an opportunity to actually jump on some other streams today, simply because we started a bit late and all that. So that should be we should find some opportunities, because I think I had a where's now? Because I know, I think the event started Thursday, right? No, it started Wednesday, and I think I already jumped at somebody on Wednesday. Not if I did or not. I think nobody started yet on Wednesday, and I just jumped on at somebody else, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think I went to Sprouts. Oh yeah, I remember. I think I rated Sprout. If I just made it in that way, but it's fine. Probably today, considering that, you know, we pushed it a bit later, the stream thing, all that. We should be able to do it, which I think I don't see any point for us to delay, because as I said before, I don't have much to say, I guess, because, you know, just went through yesterday's stream, things and other things a few days ago, so that's completely fine. I don't think I've extra to cover, aside from, as I've also talked about the schedule shift, that, you know, I already have it planned. So tomorrow the schedule for next week is going to be announced, just, you know, to be, because at least when it comes to scheduling, I like to give a day in advance to set all of that up, because, you know, it can a day in advance from when I usually start a stream. And because, you know, on there's gonna be the creation next week that we are gonna be starting on Monday. That's definitely gonna be one of them. Although, like, one extra thing that I technically did, and I was yeah, I was like setting up the scheduling, and I'm not sure if there's gonna be anything else to announce, but yeah, you're gonna just receive the schedule a bit early, because aside from that, there's not much else for me to mention, because I also mentioned it yesterday. It's, you know, doing the FF14 stream a bit early, then the ttrpg, then on Wednesday we are checking out Do at Night Abyss, which technically, actually, they had a stream, a pre-launch stream today, to kind of announce the update and announce the 1.0 version and all that, and some of the things that are gonna be part of it. I'll be honest, I kind of like skimmed a bit through it. I didn't fully check, and of course the website was busted for anything when it comes to like redeeming things or checking some details. Everybody jumped at it, but from my understanding, it's gonna be a pre-download on the 26th. For some reason, it's not gonna be on Steam. A pre-download is gonna be on the mobile, on Epic, even though the Steam website has the game listed, although it does mention a planned release date to be announced, which gives me weird suspicions that it's not gonna release on the same date. Although then afterwards they did mention that the game is gonna be, you can also then start the launch on multiple platforms on the 28th, and mention multiple platforms, so not sure. If not, that means that we'll probably have to jump to our to the good old Epic launcher, I think, because I think it's also Epic. Let me see. I think they did mention Epic, so yeah, there it is. Good Night Abyss, which we're gonna check. There was like a thing they mentioned in the stream that kind of gave me like a weird question mark. Like, I didn't fully understand what they are meaning by it, because they didn't kind of go into heavy details. Like, to kind of quickly give an idea, like to give a summary once again for anybody who does not know what exactly I'm talking about. Do Not Abyss is a Chinese, you know, very anime styled game that is, you know, a third-person kind of hack and slash RPG type combat. You know, action adventure, open world. That's kind of the usual tags that you mention, which already when I said all of this, you probably are gonna thinking of something like, you know, Genshin or Withering Waves. Definitely a gacha. Well, the game was a gacha for during its all of its testing periods, and even some of the closed testings and all that. That some players have had access to them, utilized the gacha systems. Then literally like a month or so before its planned release, the developers announced, oh yeah, we are just removing the gacha system for all the characters and everything, and you can obtain all the characters at any point, at any time, by just simply playing and grinding the game. There's no energy resource, or there is no limited resource for you to do to grind content. You can grind as much content as you want per day. There's no limit to it, like how you'd expect in other gacha games. You have access to all to grind all the characters. There's a certain resource that you need to farm it by doing I think certain either daily, weekly, or monthly activities. Like monthly activities, things like, you know, higher challenge runs or all that kind of thing. But that's the only thing that technically is connected to something that you have to be actively participating. But anything else is just, yeah, grind as much as you want at any point in the day, at any moment. They mentioned that everything is going to be always available. There's not going to be anything time gated or anything like within a limited time frame. But they, weirdly enough, mentioned the thing here, like newly added characters are going to be farmed for a limited amount of time, but then later down the line are going to be released for unlimited farming, which I'm not sure exactly, because they didn't specify what they mean by limited. Do they mean limited in limited time frame? Like, oh yeah, here's the new characters released. Here's the amount of time you have to farm for them. If you do not farm for them, you're just gonna lose the opportunity. Then you have to just wait until we are just gonna fully release them. I'm guessing maybe a patch in the future or something like that. And then I'm like, is that the thing, or is it limited farm in the sense of, oh, you cannot just, you know, obsessively grind for the character in a, I don't know, in a week. You have an amount that you know, we're gonna trickle feed you how much you can farm for the character, so nobody just gonna be rushing. Although the latter idea doesn't necessarily make as much sense to me, and the former means that there's still a weird element of FOMO. It's just not gonna be connected to the gacha. It's just gonna be connected to, are you dedicated to play this game, like technically forcing you to some extent to play the game on a daily basis for you to access certain craftable and consumables. And there is also like a weird asterisk with the gacha, not in a necessarily in a bad way. It's still not necessarily amazing, but there's still gacha from my understanding, from what they mentioned in the, it's just not gonna be gacha for characters or weapon. No, it's gonna be gachas for cosmetics. Certain character skins, I think certain, not all of them, but certain character skins are gonna be under like some sort of gacha system. So that's gonna be probably their moneymaker of putting some really appealing cosmetics under like the gacha system instead of direct purchases. Annoying. It has a bit of the Warframe-esque aspect of being able to like color your skin, your outfits. Although I'm not sure how granular you can do it, like if it's to the level that Warframe allows you or not, or if it's something a bit different. I have no clue in that sense. But maybe, but yeah, to me that the whole thing with like limited, that kind of concerned me. Like, what exactly is it referring to? And what exactly, what exactly does it mean through limited? So I think we're gonna figure out and check it out on Wednesday, which is gonna be on the 29th. It's gonna be the day after its release, just because, you know, unfortunately during its release, I'm gonna be part of the ttrpg, like, you know, the charity thing. I'm not gonna say no. I'm not gonna be available on the 28th just because of this, and you know, I want to start literally first impression kind of thing on stream, so I'm not gonna jump into the game or anything before that. So yeah, we're gonna have an actual first impression and see how this entire system works and how exactly customize your look with dyes, mix and match color weapons and outfits freely. And from my understanding, they also mentioned that in the video that by color matching, you're also gonna be color swapping your visual effects. So even the visual effects can be matched to whatever color palette you're going with. Multi-weapon combat, you can just swap between range or melee combat. This game is it has a lot of like, it's definitely taking a lot towards it from Warframe, and they kind of mentioned that Warframe is kind of their direct competitor or their direct parallel, or like it's but just I guess in just a slightly different system. I think in one of the combat in one of the beta tests that I found online, literally I've even seen the characters doing the jump spin almost one-to-one animation that the Warframe characters have. Doing which I'm pretty sure like anyone who plays Warframe knows what I mean, that you're doing that kind of like jump and then you spiral midair. It literally had that, and I was like, okay, that's kind of on the nose. To be fair, it's not like the first one, because there was also the in the GTA-esque kind of clone open world. I forgot its name. It has like a weird, stupid name in my opinion. It's kind of like hard to remember. That has had like a ton of copy abilities and animations from the Insomniac Spider-Man games, because it has like a grapple hook swing mechanic that is literally one-to-one the web slinging from the Spider-Man games. I'm like, that's kind of weird. Yeah, we're gonna definitely check it out. Honestly, it kind of surprised me, the whole thing that, oh yeah, we're just not gonna be a gacha anymore, and that's literally the thing that really surprised me. Especially because, they're a Chinese developer that literally coming from the place that a lot of these types of games kind of spawned from, and this kind of genre was created, and just a developer just decided to be like, nope, we're not gonna do it. That definitely kind of piques my curiosity, and beyond that, I'm not sure exactly. And to see like how exactly the inner systems or like the meta systems are gonna work when it comes to actual progression, if it's and how exactly they adjust it, because again, that whole thing with the limited, that kind of still sticks to my head, because to me it feels like that's gonna be their, they're kind of gotcha thing. They're kind of definitely the kind of like retention Skinner box thing of, oh, you still have to engage with this game almost on a daily basis if you want to get the new thing when it's new. Before we are gonna give because after that it's gonna be a long dead period where the new thing is not gonna be available and you're not gonna have access to it, and you're gonna have to wait until we're gonna decide to do that. And who knows, maybe it's gonna be a thing where, oh yeah, you have a limited amount of time during the update, and then an update later we're just gonna release it for freely grindable, or maybe even worse, or who knows, maybe many updates before that, if they are gonna do a similar updating format like how we've seen with MiHoYo, where a certain chapter represents like a version 1, and then when reaching a new chapter in the story, then you get to a version 2, and then during the version 2 everything gets released, and that's a really long time frame between characters. And yeah, that to me, that's gonna be the thing that's gonna be a bit of a decisive factor when it comes to if it's gonna make it or break this game. Because if you're still gonna put this whole thing of, yeah, you cannot grind the character. To be fair, being under the fact that everyone can grind the characters from the very beginning without putting any money up front, that should be fine. It now also depends on how efficiently can you get out of the most of the character or aspects of the character. Like, because from my understanding, I think they also have like signature equipment or like of their own, similar to all the other games, where it's not just the character. You also, if you probably want them to perform best, you also probably want to look for their weapon that is signature to them, or anything of that sort. So yeah, there's definitely gonna be some that's gonna be the thing that I'll have to check out and see, and probably do the numbers on it at the very least on a surface level. Because if it's gonna look like it's either gonna be grindy, or either you're not gonna get out of it, or it's just gonna feel very samey in the grind, same way you'd probably expect out of a just a gacha, or maybe even worse, who knows. I'm gonna be a bit suspicious. But to be fair, speaking of Warframe, at some point I am planning on, or at least wanting to jump back into Warframe, and as I said before, I kind of would like to do it actually from scratch, from like a starting zero experience. They've introduced, like with this new recent update, where they've also like introduced like a mushroom looking Warframe, introduced like some quest line that is kind of like a tutorial to modding, because the game didn't really give you a good a good learning experience when it comes to modding. That's the biggest hurdle that Warframe has. Its learning curve just spikes up immediately when it comes to all the meta systems the game. There's a lot of things that the game will once you do the initial tutorial, you'll just be then thrown into the game and be like, from this point on, just figure it out. What exactly are the mains? How exactly you progress through the through the main story? How exactly you farm and progress to characters? How you do modding? How exactly you traverse through the planets to progress through the story and unlock all the prerequisites and all that. So yeah, it gets weird after a while. It really does. But anyhow, yeah, but it's definitely something I want to check, and something else that I want to get back to. I really is gonna give it look-see again. It's also Soulframe as well. That's something that I also would like to have look for it, because I think there've been some new preludes and new things added together that could be distinct to that. But yeah, that's gonna be an interesting one. We'll have to see how it's gonna turn out. But yeah, that's kind of the more different special thing that's gonna happen, or something newish gonna happen next week. Because after that, after doing that Wednesday stream, then it's gonna be the usual for the next TRPG thing. We're gonna look at Cult, the Lost Divinity game, which is like a powered by the Apocalypse system, which I'm presenting it. It's a pretty popular TRPG within the whole with kind of horror dark atmosphere genre. So I kind of gave it a, haven't really looked at it too heavily. It looked interesting in the thematics and the ideas, and I don't like there's other games that function with the powered by the Apocalypse. So checking something within that vein would be interesting to look at. So the starter book it's pretty lengthy, so who knows if it might be a multi-partner. I'm not fully sure yet, so that could be a possibility. And then after that, we're gonna be checking Blair Witch. We're gonna do like another horror marathon thing for for Saturday, as a post Halloween thing. So yeah, that's gonna be the thing. But anyways, I think I've yapped enough for like just the random things. So why not get ourselves into some shenanigan things. I don't know why you're doing the gear loading thing, because I just out. Okay, weird of you. But yeah, today we're checking the Call a Cthulhu game. Again, as previously, because I don't have a lot of like I don't have a lot of horror stuff when it comes to TTRPGs. I'm usually just scouring for Kickstarter things that or like not Kickstarter, quick start guides and that sort of stuff. So that at the very least, so where we can do like a quick one run stream of it and see where we go and see where it leads us and that sort of thing. But yeah, specifically for these kinds of streams, to kind of once again mention, my intention with these streams is for this to be an open space where people can just chat, talk about general TTRPG things that they enjoy, what could be things like what they've done in a game session, what they're looking forward to. Maybe they're planning, maybe you're a game master or player that is planning to craft something interesting, or just rant about it with some people that have no stakes in it, and you can easily just be as open about whatever content you're covering and all that sort of thing. So that's another. Also, at the same time, I wanted this to also be a place where people can just jump in, help each other out, if ask for advice, suggestions, cater for ideas, all that sort of thing. Even if it is or if it is not related to the game system or the topic that I'm covering today. What I'm covering for today, it's usually as a filler thing. It's something that for me to kind of just keep talking about or just look into and discuss, that sort of thing. And then from that point onwards, then I decide if I'm doing something different, if I do just mostly just so it's there's something to discuss, there's something for us to cover. sorry, just my brain for some reason kind of lost its train of thought for 1 second, and then yeah, don't be so don't shy away from asking anything. It could be from a different system, it could be a completely different game. I have experience with a good selection of games here and there. I've checked out some other systems, so I can probably out of memory to tell you of what I know and offer like some advice. I've been if you I guess want to know my I don't know background or credits, I guess, when it comes to being a TTRPG player or enjoyer. I've started like in 2018, as probably most people have, with D&D 5th edition. Played a good chunk of years of that. I would say in equal amounts, both as a player and as a game master. So I have experience on both sides of things. And in recent years, like almost a year ago, I started exploring different systems in new games and new systems and concepts and themes and genres. I've been a player for a Hunter the Reckoning first edition, the Feud Within the World of Darkness, Vampire Masquerade 20th anniversary, kind of as a follow-up, some Gestalt RPG games, which in case for those who do not know what the Gestalt RPG game is, if you were like to put like the D&D 5th edition and Pathfinder 2nd edition in at like two ends of a spectrum, each at one end, then I would say Gestalt is somewhere-ish in the middle. A bit more complex and has a bit more granularity than D&D 5th edition, but not to the level that Pathfinder offers you. It's still a D20 system. It has a lot of like similarities to that end, so very similar to that. So if you're familiar with Pathfinder or D&D 5th edition, Gestalt is not going to be too different for you. It's a bit more power fantasy. That's kind of its own more, I think, special thing. And also Pathfinder, actually, that's also like another one that I jumped in for a bit and tested out the waters for it. But that was kind of it. That's all that we advertised as I played. But also, as discussed, I've looked into Lancer, I looked into Bunkers and Badasses, the playtest of Daggerheart, checked the quick starter for Candle Obscura, I looked into some even like Mothership last week, although the Mothership one was a lot more brief in many regards, and many other things of that sort. So yeah, I do have a variety of things, so don't be afraid to ask games. Even if I may not know the game or not be too familiar with it, I may still be able to offer you a more generalistic advice than you that has the knowledge of the rulings and concepts and all that happens within the game can apply them or make the adjustments necessary. So again, as I said, I want to harbor this to be a space where people can just discuss, talk about their love of TTRPGs and help each other out. Either I can help you out somehow or just want to chat about things with you about TTRPG things. If not, just simply enjoying our time together. So yeah, that's the general thing. That's the gist of it. And that's kind of what usually these streams are. Again, I'm saying that these are like specifically made streams for this kind of topics. That doesn't mean that if I'm not doing a TTRPG stream, you should not necessarily discuss about this. I'm down to discuss it at any time, but these are definitely like the streams to talk about these kind of stuff. Yeah, and that's kind of enough of a quick introduction. As I said, today, because we are in the spooky month, I wanted to do like spooky systems, spooky game systems and all that, or anything that has a dark atmosphere, spooky element. And the one that we are checking today is Call of Cthulhu, which is a bit of an oldie but a goodie. I think it went through decent amount of revisions and changes and all that, but it's a good system. I wanted to actually jump into a Call of Cthulhu thing at some point. I think I wanted to do like a one shot. A really cool thing about Call of Cthulhu, if I'm not mistaken, it's one of the systems that actually has like a DM-less, like one-player, like solo one-player games, like modules that you can try out and be part of. Because Call of Cthulhu, it's more of an exploration game. It's more, it's more about exploration. You're investigators. You're there to uncover the unknown, but not necessarily combat it, because in most situations you're probably just gonna die a horrifying and gruesome death that most people could not even comprehend. Of course, it's called Call of Cthulhu. It has a lot of like Lovecraftian inspirations. Although I'm pretty sure I think it's mostly detached from the actual author, because, you know, from my understanding, from my knowledge of it, the author himself was problematic. But, you know, it was one of those things where, you know, I guess their concepts and their creation has kind of transcended beyond the author and became a it became a bit more of a cult classic. And this is more of a, you know, creations devoid, detached, you know, by the artist. So, you know, this is no longer an art that connects the original artist. But I can't really give you like a quick explanation of what exactly it's a D100 system game. That's something that I know do remember about it. You know, it's a more kind of exploration game. You know, dark themes, horror-esque themes, but I don't fully remember all the ins and outs of what exactly this type of game is. With all these kind of quick start guides, we're looking through them even as kind of like a first impression and first look even for me. So, to some extent, we are equally experiencing the game together, or, you know, learning about it together. I did look at it in the past, but again, it's been a while. It's been like a few years since I looked into it, because I did want to run a one-shot at some point, but it just didn't line up for it to happen. I think I wanted to do like a one-shot for like Halloween or something like that with the group of players that I was playing with at the time, but just things didn't pan out and I just couldn't do it, which, you know, unfortunate, but oh well. Yeah, this is a quick start rule set. It has a ish amount of pages, like 50-ish, although I don't think we have to look at all of them. I think a good chunk of the pages I think can be passed. Let me see, because yeah, we have yeah, the game system, which is up to like 15, and from this point on, it's from 25th onwards. It's mostly I think a one-shot adventure or something like that, or like one-shot session type thing. So yeah, we only have like 15-ish pages, maybe a bit more, because this starts at 25, so that's a lot. But yeah, it's not too much. It's what I would say 11, 12. I'm not saying. Let me just double check. Yeah, the haunting, and then it jumps on with it. For some reason, it starts with the handouts, or maybe it's a printing error. Maybe it's a printing error. I don't know why exactly it starts with the 25th. Yeah, no, I think no, it's not a printing error. It's a weird. Yeah, I think it's a printing error, and that then, you know, was not necessarily corrected. It immediately jumped you at page 25th. Yeah, we have 12-ish pages to check out, because it's a modular. We're not going to look at it. That's something for you to explore. So we're just going to look through all these today. So that's the general gist of it. Yeah, we're going to start with main chapter, then gonna look quickly through the investigators, which is a really brief. I'm guessing that it's not gonna go too heavy into the character creation, because I'm pretty sure, like, yeah, you have like already made investigators. It could be similar to how Candle Obscura have done it, where the character creation process it's brief, just so, you know, to let you do it more with a full version, and letting you and just letting you quickly get an understanding of the game. Plus, you know, Call of Cthulhu maybe, I mean, Candle Obscura definitely has a lot of inspiration from Call of Cthulhu, and may be very akin to that, where you might have like you might create a character to fit a certain archetype, but the character itself will not necessarily be class driven or archetype driven in kind of like a class system as some of the fantasy games would have. Again, I could be completely wrong. Again, as I said, it's been a while since I've looked at Call of Cthulhu. I don't remember, because I just had a brief look at it in the past. So I may be completely wrong, and it might actually be a bit more in-depth than that, and just I think I'll just zoom in like this. Yeah, just you know, and just the book, the quick start decides to kind of keep that as an exclusive, pay for the full core rule books type thing, which, hey, that's also is fine. So let's look at the welcome page. So for Call of Cthulhu, with a brief introduction of, do you hear the call of Cthulhu? Interested in Chaosium's Call of Cthulhu? Well, you're not alone. Call of Cthulhu is a Chaosium tabletop role-playing game of mystery and horror, where ordinary people delve into weird events and lore and confront the terrifying and alien forces of the Cthulhu mythos. The game has won many awards, gaming excellence, and is published by Chaosium Incorporated, one of the oldest role-playing game companies in the world. Chaosium is also famous for publishing engaging games like this one, Call of Cthulhu, RuneQuest, Pendragon, 7th Scene, and many others. All you need to play Call of Cthulhu for the first time is this quick start rule guide, some polyhedral dice or a dice rolling app, plenty of imagination, and your friends too. And you then can just jump into the world. Yeah, I guess this was a bit more kind of like adding into the back introduction, which, hey, it's fair. Considering like it is a game that has been run since, what, I think it was said the 80s. It was like 40th anniversary, so I think it's the 80s. Page would load because it was like literally like right here. I don't know why this page has a weird thing. Yeah, 1981. Literally the start of the 80s. I guess this is like a newish starting guide, because if it's the 40th anniversary, then like what, 2022 was its release. That's interesting. So, as an introduction, Call of Cthulhu is a game full of secrets, mysteries, and horror. Playing the roles of steadfast investigators, you and your friends will travel to strange and dangerous places, uncover foul plots, and stand against the terrors of the night. In strange and forgotten tomes of lore, you may discover secrets that humanity was not meant to know. Along the way, Sanity, blasting monsters, and insane cultists work to bring about your demise. You and your companions may well decide the fate of the world. Call of Cthulhu is a horror-themed role-playing game concerning both horrors from beyond and from within. The game is inspired by the 20th century horror and weird fiction written by H.P. Lovecraft and other writers like Frank Belknap, Long, Lynn Carter, and August Derleth. I'm pronouncing that right. If not, I apologize. As well as contemporary writers like Ramsey Campbell, name a few. The game draws upon the fictional invention of what has become known as the Cthulhu mythos, selection of stories sharing common plot elements such as mythical books of arcane lore and alien godlike entities. The game draws on imaginative ideas and creations arising from the Cthulhu mythos, while avoiding Lovecraft's own distasteful personal views and racism. Yeah, the dude was did not like certain cultures and people, which have no place in the game. If you have not read any Cthulhu mythos stories, we encourage you to do so. There are many to be found alongside Lovecraft's own, including modern reinterpretations of the Cthulhu mythos, seen through the eyes of differing cultures and heritages, which, you know, that's probably a nicer way to do it. Like, don't necessarily stick yourself to just the Lovecraftian one. I think OSP, Overly Sarcastic Production, have covered some of the Lovecraftian stories, and yeah, they make very pointed comments and how weird Lovecraft had, how the perception of the unknown and of the quirkiness and of the unclean and the foul were kind of linked to elements of racism and, you know, kind of like, you know, inferior race in some situations. It was kind of weird. So yeah, tread carefully if you use just Lovecraft. Try to broaden for those who have used Lovecraft's core essentials or core concepts, and then evolve them beyond those elements of prejudice. Because yeah, that ain't nice. But yeah, the quick start rules give you all the information you will need to begin play and having fun with the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. and include a brief overview of the core rules and how to play the game. If you enjoy the experience, we also recommend you consider moving to the starter set, which also includes full basic rules, a simplified investigator creation system, and 4 introductory adventures. So that's probably the thing. I think we're just gonna, this quick start rules kind of skips through that, as I'm guessing the starter set is then a more involved system, and then the full book being the full creation process. Once you have mastered and played through the starter set, you'll be ready to use the full Call of Cthulhu Keeper rulebook, which contains the full rules and complete investigator creation system, as well as a plethora of game information. You can purchase these products on from good game and hobby game stores, large bookstores online, and directly from chaosium.com. So yeah, but support local bookstores and all that, and use if needed as a kind of the last resort, anything online or anything from the official, because in some situations you might find some stuff at good prices. Plus it's nice to also support local communities at the same time. So that's gonna be a nice thing. But I think I'm gonna be taking a quick little break now. I don't think I'm gonna immediately jump into the overview, because an ad is about to pop, and I don't want to get this interrupted. So I think I'm gonna leave the game overview once I do return from the ad. But yeah, definitely horror-esque themed, definitely Lovecraftian. As I said here, try to broaden your horizon, not necessarily just keep yourself to the Lovecraft concepts. And to be fair, the Cthulhu mythos has evolved beyond it, kind of jumping into more kind of the urban. I think it's the most. Is it the most modern? Technically, the urban legends and creepypastas are the modern mythos of the kind of the contemporary world. But I guess the Cthulhu mythos was something that slightly predates it, and it has nothing to do with how mythology has worked in the past. And saying that it garnered so much popularity that it's even to the point where it's kind of considered as its own mythology to some extent. Like, there are certain IPs and products out there that kind of put it alongside the popular Nordic, Greek, Egyptian, and many others. A good example I can give you, although the game itself has kind of broadened its horizons, but it kind of started with the mythology concept. Smite is a MOBA where the whole thing, the whole premises of this MOBA, third-person MOBA, was that you're playing as a god from mythology, from all the existing historical mythologies. Nordic, Greek, Roman, Egyptian. You also have Chinese, Mayan, and so many others. But they started to broaden themselves not only beyond mythology to also include folklore, or just general mythos, because you have like the Arthurian myths, Lovecraftian. I would say that you also have like the Slavic pagan gods, or like pagan entities, which that's more folklore than necessarily I don't know, deities or mythos or mythology. That's like definitely another one, and so on. But yeah, it definitely gained enough popularity to kind of be put kind of on the same pedestal as all the others when it comes to like fictional properties and fictional creations. Yeah, definitely interesting. But anyways, I'm gonna be taking a break now, because the ad is about to come up in a few seconds, and I'll return after the break and check out the game overview. So yeah, I'll see you a bit. Okay, there we go. So now let's get into the game overview. Aim of playing Call of Cthulhu: have fun with your friends as you explore and create stories of mystery and horror. One player takes the role of the game moderator, known as the Keeper of Arcane Lore, or Keeper for short, whose role is to run the game for the rest of the players and apply the rules as necessary. Everyone else takes the parts of the intrepid investigators of the unknown, or investigators for short, the heroes of the story, attempting to seek out, understand, and eventually confront the horrors, mysteries, and secrets of the mythos. as you are the person reading this book, we'll assume that you're gonna be taking the role of the keeper for the first few games you play. Ouch, kind of true. The keeper picks a story to run. These are known as adventures or scenarios. You can find an introductory adventure at the back of this book, a scenario called The Haunting. Each adventure provides the keeper with the structure and story, aka the plot, to present to players. The keeper's roles is a little like that of the director making a movie, which the actors don't know how the story will develop. The players are like actors who have the freedom to improvise their own script and acting within the game. A decent analogy, but ouch, the kind of part of, oh yeah, definitely, if you're the one reading this, if you're the one that goes through the entire rule book, that means that you're probably the one that will have to be convinced the others, like, hey guys, you want to play this? I will run it, I'm okay with it, you can just be players and just take it chill. Although yeah, I've seen it, because literally I think that's how every time I try to get into doing like a one shot or doing like a whole little thing here and there, that's kind of how it always turned out, to the idea of me just reading it and definitely being the one that's taking charge of how the game is run and all that. So yeah, but anyways, the investigators need to not to be anything at all like the people who play them. Indeed, it is often more rewarding and enjoyable for players to create characters entirely unlike themselves, such as tough private eyes, wisecracking journalists, or learned academics. Most of the game play is verbal exchange. The keeper sets the scene, describing the environment, the individuals and encounters to the players. The player tells the keepers what they intend to do, for their investigation to do, how they interact with the people and things, and so on. The keeper then tells the players what happens. In play, the game takes the form of group conversations with many twists and turns and fun along the way. Together, everyone tells the group's story, their version of how their characters overcame, or not, the challenges of the adventure. The game rules use polyhedral dice to determine if an investigator's actions succeeds or fail when dramatic conflict presents itself. For example, whether the investigators are able to leap out of the way of a giant statue about to crash down upon their heads. The rules in this quick start describe how to decide the outcome of such conflicts. Now, the winners and the losers. In Call of Cthulhu, there are no winners and no losers in the standard competitive scene. Play is cooperative. Participants work together to attain a common goal, usually to discover, then foil a nefarious plot being perpetrated by the minions of a dark cult or some devious monster. The opposition that the investigator faces can be an alien or hostile situation controlled by an impartial keeper, not another player. The keeper takes on the role of all the supporting characters and monsters in the adventure, while each of the players just plays one role, that of their investigator. Winning in such a situation depends on whether the investigator succeeds in their goal, and losing is what happens if they fail to achieve it, though they may be able to try again later. During the game, investigators may become injured, suffer sanity-shattering experiences, or even die. However, someone has to make a stand against the cosmic horrors of the mythos, and the death of a single investigator matters little if it means repulsing Cthulhu's master plan to enslave the Earth. In the game, investigators are mostly ordinary people forced into heroic roles, but they are still fragile humans and prone to injury and death. If an investigator must retire from the play, their player can pick or create a new investigator to join the team and continue the story. Investigators who survive and gain knowledge of horrendous monsters, powers from arcane volumes of forgotten lore, and advancements in their skills as they become more experienced. Thus, the play investigators continues to progress until their demise or retirement, whichever comes first. But yeah, quite obvious, which is something very akin to most tabletop role-playing games. There's no such thing as players versus game master, especially when we are talking to more modernized interpretations or modernized concept of what a role play, tabletop play experience goes for. Maybe in its early beginnings, it was a bit more adversarial, let's call it. Like probably anyone who's akin to the OG, Gygaxian kind of designs have a bit of that weird adversarial kind of concept. And even to this day, to some extent, they still exist. Like another one that is technically weirdly adversarial. It's not necessarily in the player versus game master or some way of player versus everyone is out for each other kind of thing. But it has a bit of that weird adversarial concept. It's like Wraith from World of Darkness. It has that kind of weird similarity to it because there's this weird thing where one of the players is basically playing a darker side of your own character, and basically it's that dark voice in your head, and it can, depending on your bound, so definitely one of those games where you have to set some really clear boundaries, and you have to play with people that you're comfortable with playing to a point where you're kind of pushing those edges, because yeah, that gets weird really fast. Even though it's a cooling concept, it's just probably is not going to be a game that is comfortable for everyone, or it's a game designed to just have any players jump at it at any point. You definitely have to have well curated groups for it. Again, it can give you that one is more in the sense that it can give you a bit of that sense of adversarial, but it's not necessarily designed to it. And of course, most the TRPG design these days is not necessarily played with or conceived with the intent that somehow the game master is against you. It never is that sort of thing. The game master is there to offer you the tools to push the story forwards, or to set the scene, set you the scenario that you are then going to go through and let it expand and evolve in the way that you want, not in necessarily in a preset way. It's never about defeating the game master. The game master might offer you a challenge, that's for sure, and the game master wants you to earn that challenge, but the game master doesn't necessarily, in most scenarios, I think at the very least a good game master that want you to fail. A good game master, in my opinion, is the one that cheers for your victories, has its fun moments, when their villain or their challenging creations put a stop with it, but it's not with their intent of killing or doing anything of the sorts. Because to be fair, if you really wanted to kill your players, you can or defeat your players. Yeah, 100% you can do that. Nothing in the game really stops the game master just putting an impossible challenge against the players, because yeah, when it comes to how the system is asymmetric. The capabilities of the game masters are way above and beyond the capabilities of the players, because the game master can be as many NPCs, as many characters, as can have as many abilities and powers and effects, even if when we're talking of running them within the set game rules that can overcome the players. That's not really in the wider spectrum of things. Winning at the game against one of the players or against the game master is pointless, because if that was really the purpose of it all, it's almost laughably easy from one side of the table than the other, and it has never been designed with those kind of weird limitations, because it's clearly intended with the idea that the game master is not there to do that. It's not there to be like, let me just destroy at one snap of my finger everything that you've done. Yeah, that is that's definitely at the least that's I think how it should be, and what kind of offers the more fun experiences, and the ones that maybe to some extent you could have a bit of that, not necessarily adversarial, maybe competitiveness. But again, as I said, this is cooperative play, it's not competitive play, so but maybe, who knows, there might be some systems out there that have something with that in mind, but definitely not most of the RPG systems. They're there for all of you to get there. So I want to underline that to tell a story. But anyhow, so role-playing dice. The keeper and the players use a set of role-playing dice in the game. These polyhedral dice consist a percentile dice, which is a D100, a 4-sided dice, a D4, a 6-sided dice, a D6, an 8-sided die, a D8, and a 20-sided die, a D20. Such sets can be obtained from hobby stores, online ones. Only one set is needed, sorry. Although players often like to have their own dice set, alternatively, you may prefer to use dice rolling apps instead. The letter D stands for the word dice. The number after it is the range of numbers available. A 1d8 generates numbers 1 through 8 of instances. For instance, while 1d10 generates numbers 1 to 100. In adventure, so the text will call for these dice rolls using this terminology. So if the text says that the monster delivers 1d8 damage, then you roll the 8-sided die to determine how much damage it actually causes. Nothing new here, nothing to add or to say. It is from my understanding, it is a percentile D100 system. Like, that's your main die to determine most of your rolls, while all the other dice are utilized for other scenarios or for other specific things. But when it comes to actually determining outcomes and actions, the D100 is your way to go. So, never played a role-playing game before? If you never played a role-playing game before, you may be wondering if what is this all about? To set you on the right track, it may be useful to describe an average session of play, which can take place in person, around a table, or online over a video conference. Debbie and their partner Alex, along with their 2 friends, Morgan and Susan, meet up at John's house on a Friday evening at around 7 o'clock. After catching up on the week's news and getting some drinks and nibbles, they sit down in the lounge, ready to play. John hands out some ready-made investigators along with some paper and pencil, and everyone is ready to start. It's now 8 o'clock. John kicks off the game by describing the opening scene from the adventure they have chosen to play, telling how the investigators find themselves talking with a man who wants them to check out an old property he owns. Rumor has it that it might be haunted. One of the players immediately responds to this, putting on the voice of their investigator to say such a thing as complete Hockham? Hookham? I think that's an H, right? Hockham. Is there a place where I've seen a B? Yeah, that's an H. Hockham. That's complete Hockham. Okay, I don't know. That's a regional word I've never heard before. As the story unfolds, everyone becomes involved, describing what their characters are doing or saying. Some of the players decide to speak in the manner of their characters, such as with a New York accent, while others prefer to not act out their character and just speak normally. Dramatic conflicts arise and dice are rolled to determine the outcome, with John being the referee of the rules. Sometimes the players get their way, while at other times even events appear to conspire against them. It is all played out simply by talking and rolling dice to determine the outcome of certain situations. People aren't getting out of their chairs to act it out, and neither are they donning costumes. Everyone ceases play at around 10:30, and then chat for a while before calling it a night around 11 o'clock. Everyone is looking forward to meeting up again next week to find out how the story develops. False. Having a consistently weekly schedule of doing this, that's unrealistic expectations in these days. I wish. Even though, yes, I wish in the sense that, you know, as a player, sure, that would be amazing. As a game master, I would consider that I also want to do other things, and I'm not just focusing on just doing this. I would prefer once every 2 weeks when it comes to like running as a game master, or at the very least, I'm even down. I was even suggesting I think I was talking with Ghost at some point. It was even like suggesting her that the idea that maybe we can jump off between. Like one week is me, 1 week is her, and that way we have like a nice interval of things, doing different type of sessions, and it's not necessarily the pressure of being prepped every fucking week. So that would be nice. We'll have to see how that's gonna run out, but that's definitely gonna be an idea that I've kind of discussed with her. But yeah, that's kind of a very generic, like, as I said, there's no need to, you know, act out. There's no need to put on a show, have a costume. Although sometimes it's fun to just even have something representative of your character, if that's just for the funsies, but it's not a requirement. And just for the fun of it, just, you know, be there as your group and kind of to enjoy your time. But yeah, none of that. It's just there, you with a piece of some pieces of paper, some dice, and just talking it out and just having fun. That's the summary of it all. And acting out, not acting out, but playing out scenarios, determining what are your course of actions and the outcome of them with dice. That's it. Percentile dice usually consist of two 10-sided dice, which are rolled together at the same time. One die units is numbered 1 to 0, while the other die, tens, is being numbered 10 to double zeros. Both dice are rolled and should be read together. For example, 30 on the tens die and 05 on the unit die is read as a 35%. A roll of double zero tens on the tens die combined with a 0 on the unit die indicates a result of 100%, while a roll of a double zero on the tens die combined with any other roll on the units die indicates a roll of under 10%. For example, if you roll double zeros on the tens and then you roll a 3 on the units, that is read as 3%. Good that you give that this exemplification, because it gets weird. The percentile dice have always had this weird scenario where everybody interprets them a bit differently because of how they are formatted with the double zeros and 0 sides. It makes it a bit more approachable that they give you like a fully explanation of how this game interprets that dice. But of course, it then can get weirdly annoying or weird or confusing when you are playing multiple systems that use percentile die, but each of them interprets them differently. So yeah, that's definitely the annoying part. But otherwise, yeah, I always appreciated like this is whenever the percentile die it's a main system, or it's a main driving dice roll for most actions in the games are clarified and how exactly they are interpreted. Dice roll variations. Sometimes a dice notation is preceded by a number other than 1. This means that more than one such die should be rolled, their results added together. For instance, 2d6 means 2 6-sided dice are rolled and totaled. Roll a d6 twice and add the results together. We might also see things like 1d8 plus 1 or a 1d6 plus 1, for instance. This means that the number following the plus sign should be added to the result of the dice roll. When 1d6 plus 1, the result must be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 7, sorry. And do not dare do the 6, 7 joke. If I'm, I just know, don't you dare. I do not understand it. I think this is probably gonna be my old man moment, I guess, but no, I just don't see any hilarity or any or what exactly is the point of it. It's just a random number. It's not even like referential to something, like to an actual, I don't know, activity or anything like that. It's just a random number set in a song. That's like weird to me. I don't know. It could be my old man moment. I had like a full ass rant about it on the Blue Sky, and also then that weird ass existential crisis as one of the mutuals out there like jumped with the shocking statement that they were born in 05, and I'm like, what do you mean you were born in 05? What do you mean you're an adult? No, stop this. I refuse. You're a child. I refuse to consider it in any other way. I don't want to map out those numbers again. I don't want to deal with this existential fucking crisis, okay? I'm already dealing with a lot. Me just figuring out that, I'm just a withering shell, which every passing day I'm just getting closer and closer to turning into dust is not a fun idea of spending my evening. So yeah, no thank you. I ain't doing this. If a monster claws for 1d6 plus 1 plus 2d4 damage, find the result of the attack by rolling the 2 requested dice, adding the results together, and adding a 1. Rolling 1d6 and 2d4, then adding 1 to the total roll plus all the other dice. Add the total roll. Okay, this wording here is a bit weird now that I think about it. Like this one, like I don't know why, to me, like, this one kind of implies or refers that you add the 1 for every dice. Which that's not the thing, because literally right before it mentioned that no, you're totaling the dice results and then you're adding a 1. You're not summing a 1 for each die added. Just summing a 1 instance of it. Yeah, that's weird. But anyways, equipment required. When you are ready to begin play Call of Cthulhu, you'll need a few things. The quick start rules guide, that is right here. The set of the polyhedral dice. Or, you know, role-playing dice, I guess, or dice rolling app, some note paper, some pencils, at least one other person to game with, a quiet place to stay, such as a kitchen, table, or a lounge, 2 to 4 hours in which to play, and of course, playing online is possible too. Instead of a set of real dice, you could use an online dice roll, and you could share the investigator sheet as a PDF. You can download the PDFs on Chaosium. They have access to all the digital resources like this quick starter rule as well, so you can get it from there. Any video conferencing platform could be used. You just need to make sure that everyone can see and hear each other the game. In some scenarios, you don't necessarily even have to see each other. Even hearing is more than enough. You know, saying as a vtuber who's done this on actual play formatting. We don't necessarily have to, like, yeah, you can add a bit of a, you know, extra immersion if you also kind of want to, you know, gesture a bit as you're doing certain things, but it's completely fine even if you're not. That's completely. Now that we've gone through the general overview of what exactly are the things you should have access or should need for the game, let's look at the first component of the game, that being the players, or aka investigators. The quick start guide does not include the rules for creating the investigator characters from scratch. Those rules are included in the starter set and also the keeper rule book. So instead, at the back of this book, you'll find 4 ready-to-play investigators. Note that PDF versions of these characters are available also at Chaosium, so you can get them from there. The players can pick from these pre-generated characters and use them when playing the included adventure, The Haunting. To help understand the investigator sheet, here's the lowdown on what everything means. Players record the details of their characters on an investigator sheet, which holds all the information they need for the game. Each sheet is divided into the following sections. So we have the about of your investigator. That's the investigator's name, their age, gender, occupation, as well as their birthplace and current residence. In Call of Cthulhu, an investigator's occupation determines the skills they are most proficient with, and this occupation being, you know, available to you as the player. Like, you decide what occupation, and not something that the game offers you like a selection of. Then from that point on, you can use a follow-up of what exactly you seem fit for that sort of occupation. Then you have characteristics. There are 8 characteristics used to measure strength, constitution, size, dexterity, appearance, education, intelligence, and willpower. Each of these have a regular percentile value between 1 to 100. Thus, strength 60 means strength 60%. Note that there are 2 smaller boxes on each of the characteristics. The upper small box is half value, or hard value. For example, the regular value is divided by 2, while the lower box is 1/5 value, or extreme value, which is the regular divided by 5. So for an example, strength 60, the upper box would be 30, which is half of 60, and the lower box would be 12, which is 1/5, which then that will be used for reference for skill rolls and difficulty levels lower in the page. That's completely fine. Each characteristic mean certain attribute, strength or STR, the raw physical power your investigator can bring to bear, constitution or CON, or con, the health that and hardiness of your investigator, size or SIZ, an abstract value of your investigator's height and weight, dex or DX, physical agility and speed, appearance or APP or app, I guess you can also that is the physical appeal or how good looking your investigator is, education or edu, a measure of the knowledge that your investigator has accumulated through formal education or venerated school of hard knocks. For example, the street smarts. Intelligence, a measure of the investigator's cunning, problem solving, and ability to make leaps of logic. I do appreciate that knowing something and knowing how to apply it is two different things, and in this case, how to apply that knowledge is intelligence, and the actual ability of containing that, having that knowledge, is education. I do appreciate that that's two different things. I also really sorry I shifted my mic and I was about to do a bad. Thankfully I did not drop it. Damn. Ow. But it's fine. And finally we have willpower, sorry. A combination of force of will, spirit, and mental ability. In addition to these, there are also 4 key values for an investigator. They are hit points, HP, magic points, MP, luck, which is just called luck, and sanity, which is SAN. These values may go up and down in play. So yeah, these are more, I guess, volatile values compared to the characteristics mentioned above, which are a bit more static, because those are probably those get advanced a lot rarer, maybe through some level of character advancement. So hit points. When your investigator suffers damage, you deduct the damage points from hit points. At 0 hit points, your investigator falls unconscious and may die. You can see hit points, wounds, and healing later down the line. Magic points are used to cast spells or some other magical effects. When spent, magic points regenerate at a rate of 1 point per hour. If a character uses up all their magic points, any further expenditure is taken from their hit points, becoming physical damage. See the Corbett spell at page 31, which I think that goes into the handouts and adventures, so probably not. In the haunting, for an example, how magic points are used. Okay, yeah. That's not something relevant to look at. I guess we're looking at the quick starter stuff. Luck, used to determine whether external circumstances are with or against your investigator, whether your investigator can find a lantern in a dark barn, or so on. Luck rolls are mentioned later down the line, and sanity measures your investigator's ability to deal with the shock and corruption from the exposure to alien and mind-bending horrors, Cthulhu mythos. Sometimes when such things overcome your investigator, they lose sanity points, reflecting the lingering effects of such trauma. Mention of heavier details on sanity are later down the line. Note that the starting sanity is equal to your willpower, but may later rise and fall through play, and the insane box is used to write 1/5 of your starting sanity. So I'm guessing that is the threshold where you're getting insane. If you achieve that number or lower, you're just you're getting into Delulu territory. Yeah, running along the bottom of this section are temporary insanity, indefinite insanity, major wounds, unconscious, and dying. These are checked when certain events happen during the game, and I'm guessing they also offer different outcomes or different effects, depending. Then you have the skill section, which lists all the common skills available. Your investigator can attempt to use most of these skills using the base value noted in the parentheses next to the skill. Accounting, for example, is 5%. It means that everyone has a 5% skill in accountancy. On the ready-made investigator sheet, you can see that each character has increased values for certain skills. The higher the values precedes the base value. The ones with increased values are the skills your investigator is relatively proficient with. The higher the value, the more skilled they are. Note that there are 2 boxes to the right of each skill, which the middle box is the half value, which is the half value, which is the regular value divided by 2, and while you also have the box that is 1/5 value, which is the extreme value, which is the regular value divided by 5. So, example, we have a travel skill of 50%. Middle box, which is half value, should be 25, and the right box, which is the 5th value, should be 10. See the skills and difficulty levels later down this book. Weapons notes. Any weapons possessed by your investigator. Each weapon has an entry for its regular, hard, and extreme skill values, the damage it can inflict, usually a die roll, and the number of attacks per round it can be used. And for our firearms, you also have a mention of range, ammunition, and its malfunction number. Because, yeah, this is a more, I think, Victorian. So, you know, where firearms are not necessarily, you know, hyper perfected pieces of machinery, they can still malfunction. To be fair, even these days, weapons can malfunction, but likelihood of it's lesser these days than it was back then. So yeah. Then you have action references. This is a quick reference area showing you the move, which is the human average is 8, the build damage bonus, and also a duplicate of your investigator's dodge skill value, all useful during combat and other dramatic events. So you have like a quick way to reference it, which I think on the sheet is, yeah, it's like next to the attack section, so you don't have to look anywhere else when you're dealing with combat. You just have the main thing right in front of you. Then you have my story, which you use to write your personal history of your investigator. You might add and develop this to play. So yeah, this is just your backstory. Oh no, my backstory. Each entry, in a way, is a way to further describe your investigator, whether it's a short description of how they appear, their ideology and beliefs, or their traits and mannerisms. You can also make a note of any significant people in their life, treasured possessions, and locations that are important to them. Most of the time, filling in 2 or more of these sections helps to round out your character. Note that injuries and scars, phobias and manias, arcane tomes, spells, and artifacts, and encounters with strange entities are usually filled out during play rather than beforehand. So these are things that you're gonna develop, not necessarily already come up with. But I'm guessing there could be some scenarios where I guess you can have some injuries and scars, or like some phobias or manias if you prefer that for play. But anything else is just you to detail certain parts of your character's backstory. Then you have gear and possessions, record important items, equipment, and weapons carried your investigator's person. As a rule of thumb, an investigator would be carrying the items they use to on a day-to-day, their occupation, so there is no need to write every single thing down, only the important and relevant stuff. You also have wealth. Don't worry about this section, it's just for advanced games, where your character's money on hand and savings might be important, which are covered in the core rulebook, in the keeper rulebook. But you can look into the credit rating. Credit rating is a skill on the investigator sheet that can be used as a means to exemplify your investigator's wealth, or lack of it, and social status. If you have a credit rating of 0, you are penniless and live on the streets. If you have a credit rating of 1 to 9, you're poor and have the bare minimum. You have from 10 to 49, you're average, reasonable at comfort level. If you are between 50 and 89, you're wealthy to some degree of luxury. If you're 90 to 98, you're rich, great wealth and luxury. And if you're from 99 to 100, so the 1%, you are super rich, money is no object. So if you want to, you can be that odd 1% that for some reason wants to explore the Cthulhu mythos and like firsthand, and not send some schmuck to do it in your own stead. That would be interesting. Okay, fellow investigators as the 10th second, which are the names of the other players as well as their investigators' names. And finally, the quick reference rules, a handy rules reminder of something that you might refer to once you have more experience in the game. But yeah, that's the general cover of the characters. Yeah, as kind of expected, because they did. I kind of suspected once they mentioned that the starter set is something that you have to buy, gives you a summarized version of a character creation, while the core set gives you the whole hyper detailed version. That means that the quick starter just is gonna give us a quick rundown of how understanding the character sheet, but not, you know, filling it out ourselves in a balanced and reasonable way. So it's more of the idea, like you have the character, you just you're now here to jump into the story. Like yeah, you're basically kind of using that example of being actors in a movie. You've given the you received the character script, but from this point of how exactly some aspects of the character is detailed, but from this point on you are taking the lead and you are determining how it's gonna behave forwards. But you have the foundation instead of with the other books of being able to lay out the foundation yourself and make it the way you like it. But yeah, that's completely fine for at least to kind of get the flow and get the idea of how a game runs first and how exactly one session would go with, especially because the starter rule gives you a kind of one shot, one session kind of lengthy experience. I don't see a reason necessarily. I think that's kind of the point of most quick starters, is kind of to give you a taste of the play experience, because that's the important part. Because you can make characters at any time, at any moment, and as mentioned here, if you're not having fun with a character, just talk with your game master, figure out a way to retire that character and bring someone new. That's it, problem solved. If you're feeling like you're no longer having fun with them, that's completely okay. Yeah, now that we've covered the character creation, not character creation, but we covered what the investigators have to deal with. Now let's look into how exactly the system works within the game, with the game system section. Skill rolls may be called during dramatic situations in game. Walking down a well-lit hallway is not a dramatic situation, whereas running down a rubble-strewn corridor while being chased by monster most definitely is. Only make a skill roll when the outcome is uncertain and dramatic. So yeah, don't, as mentioned in many other moments, do not make a skill roll if you think like this action is achievable by the character in most situations. Like again, only enforce skill rolls if you know that there are under a scenario where failing that skill would cause some consequence, or there is some element of pressure. It's not just there, lounging around and with all the time and tools necessary they can achieve it. Because yeah, that means that you don't necessarily need to roll it. You just are just gonna describe it and roleplay it and be like, with all these this is the amount of time it takes, this is all you're gonna do, and the task is achieved. As long as again, time is also not a pressure point, because that could also be a thing. Let's say the characters can easily achieve it within the means of time is no concern, but if there's a time limitation and maybe having to achieve it in a very significant way, then yeah. When attempting a skill roll, you should first agree on a goal with the keeper. What is your investigation trying to achieve? If your skill roll is successful, you achieve your goal. Additionally, when you successfully roll a skill, put a check mark in the box next to it on your investigator sheet. You can only get one check per skill at a time. At the end of the scenario, that skill could increase due to experience. Your keeper will ask you to roll for skill increase. If you roll over a checked skill's value, you gain a +1 d10 points. That skill. With a check climber skill of 40, you roll a 1d100, and if you get a 58, as this is above 40, you get a 1d10 point in climb. Okay, it can get a lot better, which is nice. Again, it does have that weird element of you roll a d10 and you could unknowingly get the upgrade of 1, which can be akin to how the problem of I've seen, and a lot of people sometimes a lot of players complain with rolling the 1d6 in rolling rolling HP in D&D, where they kind of get annoyed whenever they level up and roll a hit die and just get the 1. A ruling that I usually use there specifically for HP, because it's a more of a game system. You roll the dice, and you either add that value, or if it's below half of the max value that you could get that die, you just then just note the half value instead. For example, if you roll a d6 and you get a 1 instead of, and you get just a 1, half of the max value is a 6, half of it's 3, so instead you just are putting 3. So at the very least, it still feels like a climb in your, or at the very least a decent progress. Here you can probably either do something similar with that. I would not necessarily say put half, but that's 5 points, and that could be, although 5 could be okay, but I think like it feels like a significant boost, because that means that you can equally or like nicely divide across all those splits, like the hard values and the fifth values if you want. But if you feel like that's a bit too steep or too much, you can do something like it cannot be below a 2, or it cannot be below a 3 if you want that. If you do want to do like a third of it, and it can be 3 to 10. Or you can do like another thing, which I'm not sure if it's it might be something built into the game or not. But if you feel like you want to give the players a chance of actually upgrading them their skills significantly, maybe you can ask them to do like 2 rolls of d10s and choose the highest. But at least they have an outing just in case, just in the situation one of them was unfortunate. That could happen. But yeah, that's again, I'm not necessarily saying that you should do this immediately with your first game. Maybe just do a game, play it rules as written, see how it feels, how it runs when it comes to those kind of advancements, and then in the future, considering that again, you get that that skill point per scenario roll. That means that you're probably gonna get quite often in situation where you're gonna roll for skill improvement. So I don't think there's I don't think you might need to do it, or might need to compensate for the 1d10 roll not doing too well. Because again, especially if you are advancing in skills that you're probably gonna use often, or those are like your more used skills, that means that you're probably gonna attempt those skill try to check for skill advancement quite often. So I don't think it's gonna be that bad compared to a level up, which could be a bit more impactful. And to be fair, HP, it's a bigger thing when it comes to games like D&D, because combat is a big part of it. Yeah, I'm not saying that you should do that, but I would say that if you feel like on your table after you've played for a while and you have had some experience with the game, playing it as the rules say it, then find some adjustments here and there that feel fair and feel like the player actually feels like they are getting an improvement. Because yeah, incremental increases at times, they're not fun. That's a general thing where just adding a 1% doesn't feel like it's much in the larger scheme of things, or anything of the sort. But make make upgrades and make improvements feel impactful, feel like they matter to the character more than just something that, oh yeah, I just get slightly better and things are slightly, but just slightly more likely to be in my favor. But yeah, so in other words, the more you know, the harder it is to learn something new or to get better. Because yeah, as you increase your skill, the threshold of a skill advancement gets smaller and smaller. Because if your skill gets within like the 90s percentages, then you're basically having a less than 10% chance of advancing that skill. Because I think it's a way to reflect that you reach that skill plateau, which is gonna be harder and harder for you to actually get better at a thing, which it is somewhat reflective to real life, although it's not necessarily as incremental as this here, because the plateaus are like steeper climbs in a way. Like yeah, you advance, then you plateau for a while, then you advance again, and then you plateau again. Like the plateaus are definitely steeper and keep themselves on that level for a lot longer time, or something of the sort. If I remember, like it's a weird like skill psychology mastery thing. And I don't think I'm the best person to talk about it, but something within that scenario. But yeah, now to get a bit more in-depth of it, the skill rolls and difficulty levels. Your keeper will tell you when you should attempt a skill roll and how difficult the task it is. You just describe what your investigator is doing, and the keeper will advise you if a skill roll is needed. A regular task requires a roll of equal to or less than your skill value. On a D100, which is a regular success. A difficult task is a D100 roll request equal to or less to half of your skill value, which is a hard success. Or a task that approaching the limited of human capabilities requires a D100, which is to less than 1/5 of your skill value, which is an extreme success, which again also means that even within those values, like as you increase, you're more likely to succeed at harder challenges, or more or increasing. Because let's say if you have a skill of 100, an extreme success, which is all, as it says, like it limits the capabilities of humanity, that still is a 25% chance of succeeding. As I have to do 25 or less. It's still something. It's definitely significant, but again, you have to have like around 100, and anything lower than that is not going to get amazing, but definitely reflective of the increasing challenge. If you can just justify it for investigator actions, I didn't miss anything. Yeah, if you can justify it for investigator actions, you can push a failed skill roll. Pushing a roll allows you to roll a second time, not a second die. However, the stakes are raised. If you fail a second time, the keeper gets to inflict a dire consequence on your character. Might partially succeed in your goal or not, depending on the keeper's determination. But either way, your investigator will pay some sort of price for failing the roll. Before a push roll is made, the keeper has the option of foreshadowing what might happen if the push roll is failed, and the player can then decide whether it's worth the risk to take the second roll or not. As an example, your investigator is trying to open the heavy stone door of a crypt. The goal is to open the crypt. The keeper decides that this is a very difficult task, so a strength roll specifying that a hard success is required. Your investigator's strength is 60, so a hard success is requires a roll of 30 or below. You roll the dice, but the result is 43. You have failed. As you rolled above half your investigator's strength, you ask if you can push the roll, saying that your character is picking up and using a spade to help lever the door. The keeper permits a second roll, but warns you that if you fail, not only will the door still be closed, something may hear you, and you could be coming for your blood. Know that we use the strength characteristics here, as opening the door is a feat of strength rather than a specific skill. If the door had a lock on it, you might instead use the locksmith skill at a regular difficulty, or a mechanical repair at a hard difficulty. But yeah, considering that they were able to, they were able to achieve to some degree a part of their task, or at least were giving a good shot of it, even though it didn't achieve their result. You're like, hey, and also good advice here to give a role-playing reason of how exactly they are giving it a second try, like what exactly are they doing different that could be within the narrative sense, the reason the second attempt was successful, because you're not necessarily going to do the same thing and suddenly the second attempt of doing the exact same thing is going to be a success. Try to justify it in a way where how exactly are you going to alter this action and to make it be successful now, even though it's going to be within the same parameters. Yeah, using here the idea that using a shovel as a kind of a pry tool to try to push the door, that's definitely in that purview. So that nice example. Then when it comes to skills rolls, we also have the opposed skill rolls. If two investigators are opposing one another, or if an investigator is in a conflict with a significant keeper controlled character, a monster or an NPC, for example one from whom statistics are listed in the scenario, the keeper may require an opposed roll. To resolve an opposed roll, both sides make a skill check or characteristic roll and compare their levels of success. A regular success beats a fail, a hard success beats a regular, and an extreme beats a hard. In In the case of a draw, the side with the higher skill value wins. If both skills are equal, then you have both sides. Then at both sides you have to roll 1d100 and the lower result wins. So you have a few ways to determine the stalemates, even in the many odd scenarios where things can still equal. But yeah, and these are the levels of success. The worst one being from the worst to best. You have fail, regular, hard, and extreme success. That's how things are going. Okay, we're definitely advancing pretty fast. We're already like at page 11, and I think we are slightly above halfway. So yeah, we are advancing well enough. I'm not gonna rush it too hard. I like the look of these guys. I'm guessing these are like Chaosium made for Call of Cthulhu. That's kind of neat. Yeah, we got luck rolls, insanity, a bit of combat. Because there's some elements of combat, but I think it's more tactical than anything of sports. Yeah. We are over halfway there, so there's no need to rush. We still have quite a few hours on our hand. As I said before, usually the quick starter streams of this type of content is definitely shorter by comparison, which is also like another reason why I don't necessarily feel that bad that I've delayed by an hour the stream, because I think within the time frame of hours of me being on stream, kinda the same. So I think that that pans out goodly. So no problem with it. But yeah, anyhow, I'm gonna be taking a quick break now because the ad is about to pop up, and I'll return once the ad is over. So I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, there we go. Let's continue as we were checking the general dice rolling and skill rolling for the game. Now let's look into the bonus and penalty dice. Sometimes the prevailing conditions for investigators, their environment, and or the time available can hinder or benefit a skill or characteristic roll. Under certain conditions, the keeper may grant a bonus or a penalty die to a roll. One bonus die and one penalty die cancel each other out. Such bonuses and penalties operate in a similar way to raising the difficulty of a roll, can be used instead of or in addition to an increased difficulty. Normally though, bonus and penalty dice are used primarily with opposed rolls. For each bonus die, roll an additional tens die alongside the usual pair of percentile dice when making a roll. You are now rolling 3 separate dice, 1 unit, a die, and 2 tens. Take the benefit of the bonus. To take the benefit of the bonus, use the 10 die that yields a better, which in this case would be a lower result. For example, 2 rival investigators, Malcolm and Hugh, are vying for the affection of Lady Green. Only one can gain her hand in marriage, so the keeper decides to an opposed roll is needed to determine the outcome of their wooing. Wow. It is decided that an opposed charm roll should fit the scene. The keeper reviews the events of the scenario so far. Malcolm has visited Lady Green twice, each time lavishing expensive gifts upon her, while Hugh has only visited once and brought no gifts at all. The keeper states that Malcolm has an advantage and receives a bonus die the opposed roll. Hugh player rolls first against his charm skill of 55, getting a 45, a regular success. Malcolm player rolls against his charm skill with 1 bonus die, rolling 1 unit's die and 2 tens. The image here offers us the example. The unit's die reads 4 and can be paired with either the 2 tens dice to give a score of 44 or 24. Malcolm's player takes the low result 24, which is a hard success. Malcolm wins the opposed roll, and his proposal of marriage to Lady Green is accepted. I don't necessarily take the full example in the idea that, oh yeah, wooing is all about just rolling the dice and nothing has to do with the role play when it comes to elements of consent and all that. So yeah, just take this as an example of how exactly to behave with the dice. Also, hi there, Soul, how are you doing? Hope you're fine on this day. I'm just out here checking the Call of Cthulhu Quick Starter rule set. That's basically all I'm going through. Just my usual ttrpg shenanigans and going through the rulings and adding my own commentary to it here and there where I see it fit. And right now we're just going through the general section of how the game runs within the system. Have you played Voin? Voin is the name Voin. It's not an acronym, correct? It's no misspelling or nothing because it doesn't sound familiar to me. I'm just double checking just to be, because I'm really bad at. Oh yeah, it is Voin. Okay. It's an early access, so most likely not from the looks of it. Although, yeah, Voin with a V. Okay. No, I'm not saying the spelling. I'm saying that if that's the actual name or if it's an acronym, because some people occasionally use an acronym. Yeah. Linloin, correct. Voin with a V. Yeah, Voin with a V. Voin. I mean, okay. Looking really quick. I'm just skimming for some of the promotional images. Is a weird like pixelated graphic intended? Is that like part of it? I don't know, like some images have this weird edge pix. Yeah, I think it's intended. Although although it doesn't look as heavy on the actual game screen or like the actual recording. Maybe the screenshots don't really do it justice. Because yeah, it definitely has a bit more of that kind of PS, not necessarily PS1, but definitely old, older game kind of stylized, lower poly graphic. Okay. Yeah, it kind of gives me... Definitely kind of like an action hack and slash. That kind of gives me the idea of... you know, basically a Doom game, but what if you only had melee weapons? That's kind of what the vibe I'm getting. Yeah, it's kind of somewhere between retro and modern. Yeah, it kind of has that vibe of kind of Doom game, but what if you mostly had just melee weaponries and a few spells here and there. Looks neat, I would say. Yeah, looks neat. Tiny build? Really? Wait. Oh no, they're the publishers. Okay. Let's make... Okay, tiny build, interesting. The spells so far. Okay. Yeah, to be fair, I've seen that it's still in early access. I'm not gonna say it looks interesting. Again, I have this is just my own policy of things when it comes to early access games. Unless, I don't know, Adrean reached out or something like that happens, or I don't know, something of the sorts. I'm usually avoidant of early access games just because you know, I just prefer to personally get the experience of, on the full release and give my opinions there. Either that, or secondly, the other reason is that I've encountered the you know, early access games that don't really go too far, or just, I don't know, I just don't want to build my confidence, or you know, just trying to jump into a game. This time you haven't played Doom the Dark Ages? No, I don't own it just because I don't have the cash for it, but why is that a problem? No, I haven't played it just because I can't afford it. Legitimately, that's the... I would love to fucking play it because it looked amazing, but, you know, kind of bad. I don't know, I've seen... to be fair, I have not looked too heavy into it. I don't know, to me it looks fine. It looked fine, and from what I've seen of it, and... I don't know, I think a lame story, and very lame moveset. I'm sorry to say this, Doom is never about the story. Like, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. Like, none of the other, even like 2016 or Eternal, like even with Eternal that technically went a bit heavier on the story, I didn't care for the story. I had fun with the game. Didn't, as we've said before, when it comes to story, it's just fluff. It's padding for what the game is supposed to be. It has 28 really easy achievements, and I beat the game in 1 day. Not necessarily me personally. I don't know. Again, it depends on the player type. I see like it depends on the player type, and Doom has went into this. I would say with the new direction that the new id Software that got with 2016 Eternal and Dark Ages. My perspective is that the problem that it has dealt with, and not necessarily that it's a problem of theirs. It's a problem when it comes that they're using the IP, and it feels like sometimes it can be alienating. It's more the fact that each Doom starting from 2016 was a different iteration, was a different type of Doom. None of them were the same. I don't feel like either each of them is the same. 2016 is a modernization of the classic. Eternal is a more kind of tactical, very counterplay designed type of Doom, which is not necessarily the Doom that the classic one is. The classic Doom was, you're getting a set of weapons, you can use them however you want. There's no such thing as one weapon is better than the other against a certain demon or anything like that. Doom was more of a chess type. Doom Eternal was more of a chess type of game, or how the developers called it, kind of a Doom dance, where you had to swap between weapons. That the game encouraged you to do constant weapon swapping, constant counterplaying, and counter maneuvering, and that was a different type of game. And already from those two games, the fan base was alienated, because those who just wanted more of what 2016 was, of basically just a modernized version of the classic Doom, all of a sudden got this more hyper strategic, hyper active type of, because that also Doom Eternal was cranked up kind of like the hyper kind of element of the movement shootery. I'm not saying it's the most hyper of it all, but definitely higher stakes than what 2016 was. That's for sure. And I mean, and they said it from the very beginning. The Doom Dark Ages is not even close to. They said it from the very beginning that Dark Ages is not going to be like Eternal. It's going to be a different type of Doom. They're going to focus on a different area of Doom. Now, I've not fully played it, because again, I like to keep those experiences personally to myself, or like to actually experience it. If it's a game that I'm actually intending on playing. And to me, that, at the very least from what I've seen from the initial promotional stuff before its release and all that, it definitely looked like it's a different type of Doom. It doesn't have the chess elements. I think it goes a bit closer to what 2016 is, but I think it just caters a bit in a different direction. Again, I've not played it, so I cannot say like fully what exactly it is. And again, as I said, different strokes for different folks. So that's completely fine. Though I feel like if you like 2016 and it like it, I like Doom in general. Like, I played through the entire series. I played from the OG to 3 Eternal, including the DLCs, including the very divisive DLCs, because the final DLC kind of gave you this weird power move that basically trivialized a lot of the towards the end of the DLC, and then all of a sudden the boss fight felt like you were doing a Dark Souls style boss fight that was not even close to anything you've done before in Doom, which was very weird. But again, that was also like a weird thing that or weird scenario, because those DLCs were developed in the pandemic. There's also like a big story in how exactly they've catered towards the dedicated hardcore fan base, and how they kind of then also kind of shifted more towards the more casual types. And that's also like a whole other discussion. Some people on online have discussed in heavy amounts of it. I enjoyed the overall experience, and I'm a enjoyer of the genre of the IP, and I feel like Doom Eternal is just not Eternal, Doom Dark Ages is just a different page of Doom. But I don't feel like I would have a personal I don't think, like, at the very least what you've said to me is something divisive, or at the very least to me would be divisive. I can understand if you don't like it. That's completely fine. I'm not even saying anybody that should like it. If it's not your cup of tea, that's not your cup of tea. As I said, different strokes for different folks, different player types. You mentioned there, you know, achievement. You know, it only has 28 easy achievements. The game can be beat in one day. Again, if that's a thing that really matters to you, then sure. I'm not an achievement hunter. I don't really care for achievements. I've never been the type. I legitimately do not care for them. I just like to enjoy the game experience that I'm given. That's the achievements are a bonus thing to offer retention, to offer replayability. It's not nothing. It's not necessarily a core. In most scenarios, it's not the core part of the game. And the whole thing, like, I don't know, finishing the game in one day. Let me see. How long? Dark. 14 hours. I mean, what were the other Dooms? I mean, yeah, as long as Eternal, to be fair. Eternal was like within a similar time frame if you just do the main story. Yeah, it's similar. At the very least, how long to beat is is somewhat accurate. Similar pacing to Eternal when it comes to time invested. Anyway, and it's just Eternal with other DLCs. Like, yeah, the DLCs are gonna add, like, for Eternal, just another 10-ish hours, depending. I mean, yeah, surely, if you focus on going through the game, sure thing. I'm not taking my time with it and all that. But again, as I said, if you didn't enjoy it, that's completely fine. That's your decision, your prerogative. I'm not here to fucking convince you. I'm just saying that I'm not gonna be against it, or I'm still interested in it. I played the other ones. Out of the ones that I would say I never enjoyed this, I didn't enjoy as much. It's simply because it was not a Doom game, to be fair, or at the least it felt like more it was a Doom in name than anything else. It was Doom 3 because it tried to be a bit of that immersive sim, kind of tried to be a bit of that weird mix of Half-Life and Dead Space, and I don't know, to me it just didn't hit the mark. It definitely had a potential to be something. I think they just didn't want to commit to certain ideas fully, and kind of stayed somewhere in a weird middle area that just kept it mediocre, in my opinion. But that's my only complaint with Doom 3, because overall that's it. The other ones are completely fine. The OGs, the re-envisionings. Doom VR is the only one I technically have not tried with, just because I don't have a VR headset. Or, there's also the mobile games, but those are a different thing. Those are like RPGs, like turn-based games for some reason. I don't know why, but they exist. But yeah, from what you've shown to me here, Voin looks interesting. It does look like it's getting regularly updated, at the very least. Seeing from they had a major update on September, then they've done a 0.1 update literally a month after, so it's decently updated. That's a good sign. Again, I'm usually avoidant of early access unless I'm somehow reached out, or if somehow I really feel like I want to check it out. I just even like Ultra Kill, even though like a lot of it has a big fan base, and it's most likely just gonna have its release fully at some point. I just want to wait. I just want to experience the game in its completion state. Like, I just want to have that full experience. Early access are a good way to kind of are a different way of offering a demo, and there have been studies that have been shown that early access can help a lot with the game retention, and with the game popularities, and with the game visibility, and more importantly that also to get kind of a starting financial support for, or like a financial baseline for the studio and developers. Like, financially it's going to help them a lot by having some sort of a entryway early access. But again, at the same time, you have to go already with the mentality and with the concept, the idea that the player is there should go with the idea that you are there not only to try the game, but you're also there to offer feedback on the experience, because you're giving an early access, so basically you are paying access to be a tester in a way. So at the same time, if you're willing to get yourself involved in this, I feel like you should also have the courtesy of, you know, being engaged with being vocal in what you like, what you dislike, what you will see different, and voice out your opinion, how exactly you see this game that it should be. And of course, there are many other reasons. But yeah, anyways, side rant aside, no worries. I do enjoy to talk about anything game related, so that's completely fine. Don't have to worry about it. But I appreciate the recommendation, or I'll definitely keep an eye out for it. It looks interesting. I would like, to be fair, I would like to see like more of this kind of idea. Like, let's give a bit of a twist to that kind, to the kind of boomer shooter genre, let's call it, because like it's not necessarily a shooter, but it definitely has of that identity of a movement boomer shooter style of game. But what if instead of guns you had mostly weapons, melee weapons, and the occasional spells? And that's kind of interesting. It's a shift in how you play. Like, and that's something I like. Like, give me a twist on an existing concept. Yeah, though the Slayer is hotter, I mean the cooler. Hey, hey, I'm not here to king shame. Everybody likes whatever they like. To be fair, all Ed is doing, like, when it comes to like designing things, Ed has always done like amazing stuff on that end, on the Doom side of things. To be fair, even Wolfenstein machine games have done okay-ish. The last Wolfenstein though, design-wise, I don't think like it's amazing. I've played it. I definitely do not. I don't think I've vibed with it. But anyways, okay, so we've talked about bonus die. Let's now look into penalty die. For each penalty die, you roll an additional 10-sided die alongside the usual pair of percentile, D100 dice. You're now rolling 3 separate dice, 1 unit's die, 2 tens dice. For the penalty, you use a 10 die that yields the worst result, which in most situations would be the higher. For example, in a dire turn of events, 2 investigators, Felix and Harrison, have been captured by the cultists of Scarlet Smile. The cultists decide to have some fun at the investigators' expense, decreeing that both must undertake the ordeal of pain, from which only one can survive, as the loser will be sacrificed to the cultist foul god. The ordeal of pain involves lifting a huge rock and holding it aloft. Whoever holds the rock up the longest wins. This requires a opposed strength roll from each of the investigators. However, the keeper rules that Harrison must take a penalty die as he suffered a major wound. He receives an injury he was captured when he was captured by the cultist, and it's still recovering. Felix player rolls a 51 strength against his 65, which is a regular success. Harrison's strength is 55. His player rolls a 20 and a 40 on 2 tens dice and a 1 on the units, which combined read 21 or 41. The extra die was a penalty die, so Harrison takes the highest result, which is still a regular success. Both players have achieved the success. Felix wins because he has the highest strength value. Felix is able to hold the rock above his head for longer than Harrison. The cultists jeer and lead Harrison off towards their altar. Goodbye, Harrison. That's gonna be rough. Yeah, basically the image here is exemplifying you how to, definitely when you're using percentile dice and you're using penalty dice, have an identifying color for the penalty or bonus dice, so you don't mix them around with the other one, or not necessarily, consider that you don't necessarily use ones here. Just use the tens, but at the very least it helps with the visuals. In case some players mix around with these, but probably because this game utilizes the percentile dice a lot heavier as being the main driving force to determine results, I would probably recommend that you definitely have a units and a tens die for the game. But anyhow, so now we are jumping into luck rolls. Luck rolls may be called for the keeper, when the circumstances external to an investigator are in question, and also when determining the fickle hand of fate. If, for example, an investigator wants to know if there is an item lying nearby that could be used as a weapon, or if the flashlight they have found has any juice left in it, then call for a luck roll. Know that if a skill or characteristic is more appropriate to a situation, then it should be used rather than luck. To succeed a luck roll, the investigator must roll equal to or under their luck value. It's kind of like I guess the RPG luck stats in a way. If the keeper calls for a group luck roll, the player whose investigator has the lowest luck score amongst those present on the scene should make the roll on behalf of the group. Yay! How nice to use the use the misfortuned character. For example, finding a cab doesn't require a dice roll, but getting one before the investigator loses sight of the car that they wish to pursue could. Credit ranking could be a factor in attracting the attention of the cab driver on the lookout for a well-dressed fare, who may tip generously. However, quickly getting a ride at 2 o'clock in the morning on an undesirable side of town might not be so easy. Would there even be a cab to hail? No skill is going to make a cab appear at that moment. It is a matter of chance whether a cab may be driving down that road, hence a luck roll is required. So yeah, a good example. But yeah, luck roll definitely goes into that idea of kind of how you see it in kind of like RPG games, where certain encounters and certain scenarios might be better or worse for you depending on how your luck stat is, which is definitely just pure random chance. It has nothing to do with actual skills or actual things that would impact important outcomes and things that you could achieve. Because that's kind of how I see it. Because, you know, you find something random, like, okay, does this random thing do something that I'm expecting it to do or I'm hoping it to do? And if there is no skill for you to determine that or to actually make it so, then yeah, just throw it to the hand of fate and see what happens. May or may not be surprised. And we are jumping into Sanity because we are talking about Lovecraft, so Sanity, and better said, the loss of it, is most likely to happen. Whenever an investigator encounters the horrors of the Cthulhu mythos or comes across something mundane yet horrific, such as stumbling across a friend's mutilated corpse, make a percentile roll against the investigator's current sanity. If you roll over your current sanity, you lose a greater amount of sanity points. If you roll under, you will lose less or none. The sanity loss is in general described for an event and something like 0 or 1d6 or 2 1d10. The number before the slash marks tells you how much sanity your character loses. If the roll is equal to or under their sanity 4. The number after the slash determines how much investigator loses if you roll their current, or if they roll over their current sanity score, the worst result. So yeah, the first slash is the outcome if they succeed. After the slash is the outcome if they fail. And from the looks of it, in most scenarios, the fail outcome has a random chance of losing a big die, while on a bigger, variable number, while succeeding side is not so harsh, if not harsh at all. When you fail a sanity roll, the keeper gets to momentarily dictate your investigator's next action as the fear takes hold. Perhaps they unwittingly scream, freeze, or is the trigger of the gun they are holding. If an investigator loses 5 or more sanity points as the consequence of a single sanity roll, they have suffered a major emotional trauma. Yay, therapy. And the player must roll 1d100. If the result is equal or less than their intelligence, the investigator fully understands and comprehends what has been seen and goes temporarily insane for 1d10 hours. If they fail the roll, their mind is close to the horror and they remain sane. One of the rare chances where beings when being less gifted in the arts of understanding of knowledge are beneficial. In addition, when failing insane, an investigator suffers a bout of madness. You roll a 1d10 and refer to the bouts of madness tables presented below. If the investigator is in the presence of other investigators, play out the result round by round. If the player has more or less control of their character but would be guided by the keeper in terms of the investigator's portrayal of madness. So at that point it becomes more of a cooperative play. Like, you don't take full agency, but you kind of nudge them in what exactly is your current status and what exactly are the expected behaviors, what you can or cannot do, and then you let the player to kind of weave between those limitations. If the investigator is alone, you may use the result to describe how the investigator is found sometime later in a bad way, perhaps hiding in a cupboard, drunk in a gutter, or unconscious under a tree. If your investigator is temporarily insane, the keeper may decide to add a phobia or a mania to your sheet, such as a fear of the dark, a fear of confined spaces, or kleptomania, an irrational compulsion of stealing things. Alternatively, they may decide to rewrite one of your existing backstory entries, perhaps corrupting it in some way, where you wrote trusting under the traits. The keeper corrupts this to fearful. While temporarily insane, the keeper may present your investigator with delusions, hallucinations. Is that a zombie creeping up on you, or is it just a homeless person asking for spare change? You can only be certain by asking them to make a reality check. Electing to make a sanity roll. If you're successful, you see through the hallucination. If you fail, you fall deeper into the madness and believe the illusion. Once the 1d10 determined hours have passed, the investigator is sane once more. Cannot be affected by more delusions. However, altered backstories or phobias or mania gain, while insane, remain in effect. Fortunately, regaining lost sanity points can be a long and arduous process. Checking characters into some form of care while they take a break from their actions or undergo some sort of psychotherapy are ways to recover small amounts of sanity. Successfully completing investigations also provide a way to gain sanity points, but such gains often do not outweigh the steady loss of sanity, which tends to be a downward spiral. As sanity slips away, investigators become less and less stable, and their stability to deal with new horrors diminishes. Full rules for sanity and insanity in the game are more fully explained in Call of Cthulhu rulebook. So yeah, the game is designed to kind of play out on this idea that, you're an investigator that is delving with the unknown. With the more you obsess over that unknown, the more you're losing your own grasp of what is around you and what is your own self. So it definitely has in theme that there is no way for you, as long as you follow this path of discovering of understanding the incomprehensible. It's more likely than not you are gonna lose yourself in the process. You will not be the same person you were at the beginning, and you could probably inevitably suffer a fate that's unwanted and probably maybe even worse than death if you do not decide at some point to just step out. Like, yeah, I'm guessing long-running games. I'm seeing that long-running games of Call of Cthulhu could devoid into a point where the conclusion of certain characters, if not even the conclusion of a full campaign, is characters reaching all the investigators going fully mad, unable to be now part of society, as whatever horrors they have comprehended messed their understanding of the real world, or maybe their knowledge is so beyond the comprehensible of the mundane that they now are just isolated hermits, or who knows, they could be seen as just psychotic people called no different than any other cult driven. So it could honestly lead to a tragic end, or it could push, depending, to some level of certain characters with time to retire as new are brought into the fold. But definitely it has this lingering idea that the more you keep yourself, the more you keep on this path, the campaign will never reach a satisfactory, not necessarily satisfactory, will never reach a good end for those involved. And as a, not necessarily final aspect, but as not necessarily a final aspect, but now that we've talked about like general skill points, skill checks, and how all of that works out, and how exactly you can, you know, investigate and look through the unknowable. Now, what happens when that unknowable starts to look back at you and maybe even bite? So that's in that moment you get into combat. So when you are confronted with the horrors of the Cthulhu mythos, it is generally a better idea to run away or avoid confrontation altogether, as such entities are very powerful and often resistant to bullets. However, sometimes there is no other choice than to go in, guns blazing, and make the best of it, just crushing Yogg-Sothoth with a quickie and a dream. When a combat occurs, all investigators, as well as characters and monsters controlled by the keeper, act in order of their dex values. The investigator, character, and monsters with the highest dex acts first, and then the others in descending order from there. Very akin to initiative, so not different. The duration of combat is best described as long enough for everyone to take one significant action. The keeper controls the flow of the round. On each character's dex turn, the keeper decides or asks if an investigator what action is being taken. Usually this is something as simple as I attack the monster, I pull out my revolver, or I run away. The keeper should give everyone a chance to do something while being aware of the narrative flow of the event taking place. Investigators have free combat skill: fighting, dodge, and firearms. Two of these skills are made up of multiple specializations, such as fighting, brawl, or firearms, rifle, and shotgun. Each investigation might have a specialization or none at all. Note that the fighting brawl skill includes unarmed combat and the use of simple weapons like knives and clubs. However, wielding a sword requires fighting sword specialization. So yeah, just because you can wield a knife doesn't mean that it's the same as wielding a sword. Make a combat roll using appropriate skills, just like any other skill roll. However, you don't get to push combat rolls. You simply make another attack next round. So, for close combat, on a character's turn in the dex order, they may choose to initiate an attack against an opponent. In addition, each time the character is attacked, they get to choose how they will respond, be it by holding or attempting to avoid the attack completely, or fighting back, attempting to avoid, block, or parry the attack while also hitting back. Both attacker and defender roll percentage die and compare their results. So kind of a bit akin to how thinking what it's done. Like you do an attack, but you can also do like a reactionary dodge roll, but in this situation you always dodge. If you're initiating the attack, you roll your fighting skill and compare the result to your opponent. If you're responding, basically fighting back, use your fighting skill. You need to achieve a higher level of success than your attacker, sorry. Inflict damage instead of your opponent. If you are responding, dodge, you use the dodge skill. Your attacker needs to achieve a higher level of success than you. If you equal or exceed your attacker's level of success, you successfully dodge and avoid taking damage. So okay, so it favors the defender on draws. The winning side avoids receiving any damage and inflicts damage unless they are dodging on their opponent. Note that when fighting back, responding to an attack to you, the best a person can achieve is regular damage, whereas a character initiating an attack, if successful, could achieve extreme damage. If they win the combat with an extreme success, if a blunt weapon, extreme damage deals maximum damage plus a bonus, if any. If an impaling weapon, like a knife, extreme damage deals maximum damage of the weapon plus an additional die roll for the weapon's damage, and also damage bonus, if any. For example, a knife with 1d4 damage causes extreme damage if it deals So it deals 4 plus 1d4 plus that. So you're basically using the max crit roll, which was kind of like a homebrewing thing that I've seen for like some of them, especially in D&D. You're doing like a critical hit or like a critical attack. Instead of making it feel diminishing, you're doing one roll, but you're also adding at the same time a maximum amount of your rolling dice to it, instead of doing double roll and summing the two results. Because depending on your luck, even a double roll could just be within the usual damage ranges of your weapon, if you're really unlucky. For example, Ghoul initiates swinging a clawed hand at Susan, who elects to dodge. The keeper rolls a 3, an extreme success, below 1/5 of the skill. Susan rolls a 20 for her dodge, a hard success. The attacker has achieved a better level of success than the dodger, so Susan is hit, automatically taking maximum damage, which is 6 plus 1d4, 1d6 plus 1d4 damage bonus, because the attacker was an extreme success. The Ghoul is a monster with 3 attacks per round. All of its attacks take place simultaneously on Dex. On his second attack, it tries to bite Susan, who fights back. Susan achieves a hard success. The Ghoul achieves a regular success. Susan has a better level of success than the Ghoul, so she successfully fights back. Not only does she avoid injury, but she inflicts 1d4 points of damage to the Ghoul. So a general example. So from my understanding, you can always react back. It's not something like in like in some more action economy driven games where you have a limit of how often you can react per round. Here I think you can react as many times as you need to. Yeah, each time a character is attacked, they get to choose how they will respond. So yeah, so depending on that, you can choose. Then we have fighting maneuvers. If a player describes a goal in combat that is something other than simply inflicting harm, it can be resolved with a fighting maneuver. Successful maneuver allows the character to achieve one thing such as disarming the opponent, knock an opponent on the floor, seize and hold an opponent, whereupon the opponent must apply 1 penalty die to their actions until they can break free with an opposed strength roll. A maneuver is treated the same way a normal fighting attack is. Using the fighting brawl skill, the opponent may dodge or fight back as usual. Compared to the build of the two combatants, if the character initiating the maneuver has a smaller build than the opponent, they take a penalty die for each point of difference, to a maximum of 2 penalty dice. If an opponent exceeds the attacker's build by 3 or more points, any fighting maneuvers are ineffective. The attacker may be able to lay hands on their opponents, but lacks the strength and size required to take advantage of their grip. For example, Susan attempts to push the gold out of the window, which is a fighting maneuver. Susan build is 0 and the gold build is 1. So Susan offers 1 penalty die. So her on her attack roll, and Susan rolls a 2 and a 22. She has a penalty die, so she must take the higher result. This is a hard success under half of Susan's fighting skill, while the Ghoul is fighting back and it rolls a regular success with its fighting skill. Susan has achieved still a better level, so her maneuver is successful. Drops the Ghoul the window. Oh yeah, that is completely a successful attempt. Then we have outnumbered. A character outnumbered by the opposition is at a disadvantage. Once a character has responded to an attack, either fought back or dodged, the present combat round, all subsequent melee attacks on them the same round are made with 1 bonus round. This does not apply to attacks made to use firearms. So yeah, so I'm guessing if a character is somehow surrounded, or I'm guessing this is a way to play around the flanking rules. It doesn't matter like where exactly they're positioned, as long as they're all of them engage with that character. So yeah, and I'm guessing in present also melee attacks. Once a character has responded to an attack in the present combat round, all subsequent melee attacks on them in the same round are made with 1 bonus die. I'm guessing, is the bonus die referring to the attack roll or the damage roll? I think I'm guessing it's the attack roll, so they have a higher chance of, higher chance to attack. That's my understanding of it. But again, this is a starter guide. It's a bit more of a summarized thing, so it's fine if they don't go into heavy details. But I think I would have appreciated if they made it a bit clear what exactly does it mean. You're mating it with a bonus die. Like, do you get like a specific extra die, or it's just a, what is it considered like a, oh no wait, bonus die. I'm guessing they're just rolling 2d10s, 2 10s and just taking the higher, I'm guessing. Yeah, it's a bonus die. I forgot that the bonus die is the key word. Maybe if it was bolded I would have figured it out. My bad. Anyways, firearms. You may shoot a firearm on your turn in the dex order to initiate an attack. Usually firearms cannot be used in a fighting back reaction, because, yeah, how the fuck do you fight back? Usually firearm attacks are done at a distance. I'm guessing that's where they put the usually. If somehow they really are attempting a point blank, then yeah, I'm guessing you could. Make a percentile 1d10 roll and compare the results with the firearm skills. Readied firearms attack at a dex plus 50 for the purpose of determining the dex turn order. If firing 2 or 3 shots from a handgun in one round, apply 1 penalty die to each shot. If at a point blank range within 1/5 of dex in feet, the shooter gains 1 bonus die on the skill roll. Okay, so not necessarily. Yeah, readied firearms act at the dex plus 50. I'm guessing readied firearms that is referred to. I'm guessing like stationary firearms, things like cannons or stuff like that, or like when you're like prepping firearms. That's how long it takes in a turn. Like that's usually when it will be done. The target of the shot cannot fight back. You can't dodge a bullet, but instead they may dive for cover by rolling against their dodge skill. If the dodge roll is successful, the attacker's rolls to hit are made with 1 penalty die. For example, you make the dodge roll before the... So basically you're making the dodge roll before the firearm roll. If you are making the firearm, you have to state before it starts rolling if you want to do a dodge or not. A character that opts to die for cover forfeits their next attack or action, regardless of whether they were successful or not. Or if they have already used their attack this round, they forfeit their attack in the following round. I see. So there is, there is a penalty to it. It's not like something you can constantly just avoid and not because yeah, you're basically kind of putting yourself away from you're trying to kind of detach yourself from the combat, the encounter, and try to do other things. Yeah. But as big ouchy things are done and dealt with, and now we also have to talk about hit points, wounds, and healing. Points of damage are detected from a character's hit points. Hit points cannot fall below 0, so do not record the negative values. When a character's hit points 0, they fall unconscious and in some situations they die. When a character takes damage of a greater than or equal to half their full hit points in a single blow, they receive a major wound. They must make a constitution roll or fall unconscious. If a character with a major wound falls to 0 hit points, they are close to death, or better said, they are in the process of dying. They must make a successful con roll at the end of the following round for every round thereafter, or die. Only successful use of the first aid skill can alleviate the dying condition through stabilizing the character. If the character suffers points of damage greater than or equal to their maximum hit points in a single blow, they die instantly. So if you're one-shotted, you are dead. That's basically it. Rip, make a new character sheet. It happens. So yeah, don't rush Yakstad with a quickie in your pocket in a dream. So yeah, characters without a major wound naturally heal 1 hit point per day. Only one, yikes. Characters with a major wound must make a healing roll, which is equal to or under their constitution at the end of each week. Not even a day, week. If a successful, they gain 1d3 hit points or 2d3 hit points for extreme successes. So I guess it averages out. Not really. Like only for extreme success, you're almost getting as much healing as you would get without a major wound in a week's time. The major wound condition is removed if either extreme success is rolled or the current hit points are healed to half their maximum value or greater. Thus, it may take a number of weeks for a major wound to heal. Fair enough. Interesting way to incorporate it, but I do like it. Then, successful first aid can heal 1 hit point as well as rousing a character from unconsciousness. If first aid is used on a dying character, it extends the character's life so that the medicine skill can be used. Medicine skill can heal 1d3 hit points but takes at least 1 hour and appropriate equipment and supplies. If medicine is used on a dying character, it allows a healing roll at the end of 1 week. Nice. So there's a way to get back up. For example, Brian starts with 12 hit points. On Monday, he gets a ballroom roll, taking damage from 3 separate slugs to his jaw. Slugs or thugs? Weird. 4, 2, and 4 points. This is a total of 10 damage, reducing his hit points to 2. Has not taken a major wound, as no single attack delivered is significant damage. So it's not the total; it's the unit attack, and recovers at the rate of 1 hit point per day. The first day, Brian, now at 5 hit points, clumsily falls out the window, suffering 7 hit points of damage. This is a major wound, as 7 is more than half of Brian's maximum 12 hit points. A friend administers first aid and rushes him to the hospital. After 7 days have passed, a successful con roll is made by Brian and regains 2 hit points on a 1d3 roll. At the end of the second week, Brian players rolls an extreme success con and regains 4 hit points on a 2d3, and his current hit points now stand at 6. This raises his major wound marker. He has regained half his maximum hit points, after which he heals at 1 per day. So yeah, that's kind of what it means, that it starts healing, that the character is stabilized, but it's still gonna be at 0 hit points, so you still cannot do anything while you're hurt. So that's a big no-no. Yeah, basically a good proponent that combat is lethal. You have to be really careful. But yeah, we're gonna continue with the tail end of this book after a quick break, because an ad has just popped up, and then I will return. So I'll see you in a few minutes. All right, there we go. So, we were talking about healing and hit points and damage and all that, and there's also the mention of weapon damage. For some reason, it was placed here, kind of shoved in between the healing columns, which I'm not sure exactly why. Like, I would have understood it if it was somehow placed here, like under the general combat section of it. I don't know. I'm guessing it's probably a formatting thing. They didn't find the space for it. But yeah, weapon damage. In general, unarmed attacks are a 1d3 plus the damage bonus. All knives are a 1d4. Machetes are a 1d8. I'm not mentioning the bonus damage anymore. Small clubs, 1d6. Baseball bat is a 1d8. Handgun is a 1d10, but no bonus damage. Shotgun is a 4d6 at a close range, otherwise a 2d6, and does not impale. And again, with no bonus damage. And rifle, 2d6 plus 4, no bonus damage. So the bonus damage is only for close quarters weaponry. Close range is within dex within dex in feet. For example, if dex is 60, close range is 60. Okay, I'm guessing within the character's dex, that is determined as close range. I mean, 60 feet is still pretty far. Okay, I suppose. Then there's also other forms of damage. Often the keeper will be forced to judge the amount of damage caused by some random event with cause of considered to likely injury and rate it against the left-hand column of the other forms of damage table. Whatever the cause, consider it the likely injury and rate it against the left-hand column or the other forms of damage table. Each injury type is for one incident or one combat round. 1 round of being punched by an attacker, 1 bullet, 1 round of drowning, 1 round of being burned, and so on. The character takes further damage each successive round they're exposed to the source of the harm. So here is the examples. This is the table. So we have for minor injuries, a person could survive numerous occurrences of this level of damage, the 1d3. And for example, we have punch, kick, headbutt, mild acid, breathing, smoking, atmosphere, throwing a fist-sized rock, falling per 10 feet on soft ground. So for every 10 feet onto soft ground is 1d3. Then moderate might cause a major wound. It would take a few such attacks to kill. Falling, falling per 10 feet onto grass. So you got the definition that grass is not seen as soft ground. A hit of a club, strong acid, breathing water, exposure to a vacuum. Damn. Small caliber bullet, arrow, and fire, like a burning torch. Then severe, more likely to cause a major wound. 1 or 2 occurrences would render a person unconscious or dead. A 38 caliber bullet, so if you are a bit of a gun nut, I guess you have something that gives you a bit of a reference between those two. Falling per 10 feet onto concrete, that's big ouch. Axe, fire, but from something like a flamethrower, or running through a burning building, so something like really intense. Means 6 to 10 yards from an explosion, exploding hand grenade or a stick of dynamite, or mild poison. Then deadly, the average person has a 50% chance of dying, so it's a toss-up. Hit by a car at 30 miles per hour, being 3 to 6 yards away from an exploding hand grenade, or a stick of dynamite, and decent strong poison. Then terminal, outright death is likely, 4d10. Hit by a speeding car, being within 3 yards of an explosion, hand grenade, or dynamite, lethal poison. And then splat, outright death is almost certain, so somehow you have to be, I don't know, biblically lucky. Being involved in a high-speed head-on collision, being hit by a train. I mean, I guess you can't go more obvious than that. Like, yeah, being hit by a train, you're just a smear on whatever, on a vehicle designed to be punching through anything. And finally, about ready-made investigators. The 4 ready-made investigators are designed to be used for the haunting. Give these to your players and get them each to pick whichever one they prefer. Each player can decide a name, gender of their investigator, and write these details on the top left. The character sheet. The 4 characters are a team brought together to solve a case. Although it's okay if you have less than 4 players, every player takes on the role of one of these characters. Weary private detective, an enthusiastic graduate student, an open-minded academic, and an author with an interest in the occult. Yeah, you have a definite cast of rando characters, and from this point on, we get the haunting, which I'm not gonna go through it. I'm just gonna scroll pretty fast because this is something I'm gonna just leave for you all to check. There was like some quick mentions that we can look for. I think there was like a mention of like a spell somewhere, like the Corbett spell or something, like a page 4 or something. Yeah, I don't see a mention of it. Yeah, we see mentions of like certain weird occult things, but nothing Pick. Hidden layer. Oh, Corbett casts dominate spells. See Corbett spells. Okay, it's not here. I think I'm guessing it's referenced somewhere else. Although you also mentioned like here bouts of. Oh, here's a page with bouts of madness actually. You can quickly look at. There you have Corbett attack. 19 roll dice to resolve combat. Temporary sanity. Yeah, I mentioned the aspects of the backstory. Ninja has no memory of the events that have taken place since they were last in the place of safety. Seems that to them that moment they were eating breakfast and then the next they are facing a monster. Yikes. Psychosomatic disability. The investigator suffers a psychosomatic blindness, deafness, or loss of the use of a limb or limbs. Violence. Red mist rage descends on the afflicted investigator, and he or she explodes in a spree of uncontrollable violence and destruction, and directs their surroundings, allies, and foes, like for 1 to 10 rounds. Paranoia is the investigator suffers severe paranoia for rounds. Everyone is out to get them. No one can be trusted. They are being spied on. Someone has betrayed them. They're seeing is a trick. Significant person. Review the investigator's background for a significant person. The investigator mistakes another person in the scene for their significant person. Consider the nature of the relationship the investigator acts upon this last 1d10 round. Faint. The investigator faints recovering after 1d10 round. In panic, the investigator is compelled to get as far away as possible from whatever means are available, and even if it means the only vehicle and taking the only vehicle and leaving everyone else behind. Physical hysterics or emotional outburst. Investigator is incapacitated, laughing, crying, screaming, or some other thing of the sorts. Phobia. Investigator gains a new phobia such as claustrophobia, demonophobia, fear of spirits or demons. Catsaridia fear of cockroaches. Okay. Even if the source of the phobia is not present, the investigator imagines in it is there for the next 1d10 rounds. Nice. How quaint. And mania. The investigator gains a new mania such as ablutomania, compulsion of washing oneself, pseudomania, irrational compulsion of lying, hemithomania, the excessive liking for worms. An investigator seeks to indulge in this new mania for few rounds. That's something. Okay, so I think we see here Corbett spells. Casting time costs 1 Corbett 1 magic point and takes 1 round to cast. 5 rounds, variable magic points. I guess it depends on how much you spend. That's how much you're probably gonna benefit. There are some general varieties. And here is also like an investigator page now that we've gotten through it. So yeah, we have the regular stat, the half stat, and the fifth stat. One after another. Hit points, magic points, luck, sanity. It's nice, and I think that's yeah, that's the fifth. Okay. Max sanity, temporary, all the skills, and you have a mention of what's the lowest amount you can have no matter what expecting. So if you do not have anything, at the very least you have something of it. Yeah, it's either like you take the lower you take the amount in the parentheses, or you don't, or you take whatever, or you take the amount here if you actually have it filled in. And here, because we have a private investigator, we have in art and craft, which in this case is photography, a credit rating, skies, dodge, fast talk, brawl. It has a firearm handgun, a language of its own, which is the English, a intimidate, firearms for things like rifles or shotguns, being mentioned, some knowledge in law, some knowledge, some book knowledge, or at least how to search, good listening knowledge, some good mechanical repairs, decent psychology, the spot and stealth, and here are like the mentions of like the of weaponry, general brawl, revolver, move your build, dodge, and damage bonuses. And here are all the backstory and traits. Meaningful locations: home, where peace and rest can be found. Treasure possession: a lucky charm keyring. Ideology and beliefs: ghosts and phantoms aren't real, they're just stories made up to scare a kid. Everyone lies. Untidy and rough around the edges. A word-weary look and tired eyes. Generally cautious. Usual gear. Okay. Spending level $10 on hand, cash. $40 available in a hurry. And of course, the fellow investigators, that's something for you to add up. And here, yeah, general references for wounds and healing and general characteristics. Oh, there is also a fumble aspect and a critical one. Fair enough. And then we also got other investigators, of course. Oh yeah, this is a 1920s era investigator, but I'm pretty sure, I'm guessing the book might, or there might be additional compendiums that think of the setting even in other settings in eras. Sorry, in you know, more modern decades, I guess. Or I think, but in general, it is definitely more designed for its more, you know, 1920s, 1930s kind of era where technology is not extremely advanced, just decent enough, and there's still definitely bouts of unknown. Aspects of the unknown cannot be so easily recorded or so easily grasped together. But yeah, that is Call of Cthulhu. That's what the game is about, which I'll say definitely for if you want to get that experience, you know, want to get of this kind of you know, if you want to have this kind of like about experience of, you know, uncovering the dark, if you appreciate like dark atmospheres, if you like this kind of concept of the deeper you go, the more likely it is that you're not going to be the same person by the end. And definitely a story that could end with tragedy, could end with not the most wanted, with the events unlikely wanted. Then this is definitely a game, and especially if, you know, if you're a big fan of the Cthulhu mythos or anything within that vein that is Lovecraftian, and you want to add weird, spooky things. And I think also this game system can work out for some like different other concepts, because, you know, the Sanity system is I think it's like a really popular system, especially because, you know, the whole idea of, you know, not comprehending what is around you and starting to have this kind of like bouts of paranoia. And I think there's moments where, you know, you get a twist and all of a sudden basically the table gets flipped. You no longer can do the same things as you were able to do that before, because you're dealing with the incomprehensible, you're dealing with things that you cannot combat, which, you know, this definitely, the game here definitely is focused around that. If you're more about exploration, puzzle solving, I think that's more of what this game is about. The you know, puzzle solving, problem solving, because the combat, as they mentioned, and it's even as you can probably see, like, yeah, it has a pretty well detailed combat section, but as you've probably seen, you have mundane, in most scenarios, you have mundane equipment, mundane weaponry, and it was even mentioned, and even and even other aspects of your character, as things as health, how much power you have, and all that are limited, and to the point where you could deal with threats that could literally just blink at you and you die without a say in it. It goes to show that this game is not about punching first, asking questions later, because because if you do that, your character is not gonna be lasting for too long in the game, and you have to meet a new one. So it's definitely more inclined for those exploration, puzzle, problem-solving sites, and where I guess combat is more, again, as I mentioned, combat is probably more of a puzzle than necessarily an actual one-to-one solution, where you have to outwit, out-strategize whatever creature you are dealing with, or entity. And definitely this investigation also can play into the idea of finding out what this creature is, what you're dealing with, what are their weaknesses, what are their strengths, and maybe even adding that kind of Witcher-esque. And I think like also the game has a lot of potential of being adapted. You can easily adapt it into other more interesting scenarios or more interesting concepts, or games or features. And like honestly, like a game that I could see that you could adapt into a Call of Cthulhu, which I do wonder if this has to be somewhere out there, someone who has done it before. Amnesia. There has to be someone who's taken Dark Descent and just into some degree made it into an actual like play experience for Call of Cthulhu. It has to, because I feel like that would fit to a T in this system. And I think like a ton of games within that similar aspect of the horror genre, where the threat that you're fighting is not a threat that you can really stop. It's more of a threat that you have to slow down or somehow incapacitate and escape from, while uncovering the greater truth behind it all, and whatever is tied to that creature, if it even is, there is anything tied to it, or if it's just there to act malevolently, which in most scenarios I think it is. But yeah, it's definitely, it's 100%, it's one of the games that I personally would love to play at some point. Would love to either give it a shot by running it myself, or trying something else, or being a player in it. As I said before, I was even considering for a while. It's definitely more grounded in the idea. When I say grounded, more in the idea that the characters are more grounded than anything else. Because yeah, there is mention that you might encounter artifacts, you might encounter spells and powers, but it might not be something that you're really gonna have for too long, or at the very least not something that you're gonna encounter often or have access to it too often. Because I'm pretty sure that's character creation, even within the most advanced system, in the Keeper rule book. I don't think you can start with spells and powers and that thing. You're just gonna be a normal human that maybe through the process of investigating the unknown you might amass that knowledge, but who knows, it might come at a cost. The more you use it, or the more you try to tap into it, or try to unravel deeper secrets of it, or even more greater powers. Yeah. But definitely a game system I would love to check in the future, and give it a shot myself. And yeah, I think I remember vaguely. I don't remember. Critical Role has done way in the past a Call of Cthulhu one shot at some point. I think, if I remember correctly, yeah, I'm pretty sure Taliesin was the keeper. And I remember, because again, as I said, most of the characters are mundane, and I'm pretty sure they use the advanced systems in those. If I'm not mistaken, Liam O'Brien was some sort of like mystic, or sort of like mystic or fortune teller or magician, and had this kind of like suave, mysterious air kind of act to him. And then immediately, as the character, that character was faced with the unknown, and they realized that, oh shit, there's actual real creatures from beyond that exist, and not. The act drops. All of a sudden, there's a shift. The guy starts, Liam starts talking in an Irish accent, and starts talking about, like, I don't know what the fuck is that. I have no idea. Like, what? And it doesn't like mention it obviously, but then it kind of clearly dawns on everyone else around like, oh my god, you're just a charlatan, aren't you? You're just a magic man out there just to take a quick buck of the naive. Yeah, that's the type of characters that you'll definitely encounter in this sort of thing. Like, again, even if it's dark, atmospheric, and you're dealing with horrors from beyond, and most likely you're gonna meet a grim fate. That doesn't mean that it cannot have its charming moment. It's a moment of campness and joy, and like weird moments of humor. Like you definitely can do it because there's a aspect of the ridiculous, aspects of the strange that you can twist in humorous ways. So I'm sure like it has a variety, and certain concepts definitely can be then adapted to other ideas, other concepts that could be adjacent to the mythos, or something that can offer. Again, anything that deals with dealing with threats that in most scenarios are unstoppable to the normal man, fit within the Call of Cthulhu system. I'll definitely have to look at some point. If there is something like a amnesia adjacent in this game, because I would fucking love it. That would be something that I would adore to run. Or to play at some point of them, especially if somehow it's adjusted to actually have it multiple players and not just because I imagine like maybe somebody has done it to be like a solo play thing, but it would be even awesome if we could have like access to the castle, did it like a full-on campaign. That'd be cool. But anyways, that's just me gushing over a really good horror series. It's a classic. Even more interesting if you do something like The Bunker, or maybe even you can add to some other elements from the other games to it and kind of mash them together within the session. That I would say like Amnesia has the game has a setting, has a high potential. To some extent, I would maybe even say the Soma game, still from Fictional Games, might be able to do that. Although sci-fi settings might have to take a bit of thinking what exactly how you approach here, because aspects of death and lethality are taken in consideration, that you're living in a world where healing is not something that's readily available. There's still a lot of grittiness to it. Consider that even with aspects of Soma, you're in a now abandoned facility with barely any supplies around for you to kind of even maintain that robotic body of yours. Yeah, there's unlikely chances for you to find to keep yourself up to speed at a quick pace or anything of the sort. But definitely you probably have to find some way to kind of balance out that act. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly. It's hard to say like what else to mention, because again, we looked at it in its brief presentation, which offers the bare necessities, quite akin to Candle Obscura, of just offering the bare minimum that you need to run a game, no matter what. Just here, how the game system works, how you play the game. Here are some investigators for you to try out. You don't have to think more about that. Just here are some stats, here are some things for you to use, and here's a mini adventure to kind of give you a quick taster, which I think, especially for like horror game, atmospheric games, I think it's really important to kind of also get a taster of how that horror experience plays out, compared to something that is more akin to like the general fantasy tropes or sci-fi tropes that are don't necessarily require that heavy of a buy-in, or don't need that much, because they are a lot more flexible. While the horror genre is definitely, because I feel like depending on what kind of horror you want to tell, the play experience has to be adjusted to it, because even though Candle Obscura and Call of Cthulhu are similar, they don't necessarily play. They play the same. Mothership definitely does not have that same concept. It has a bit more of an idea that characters may or may not survive. There are some other more gritty ones. Alien, from what I know, it's kind of designed with the idea that it's never get attached to your character. You might lose it by the end of you're more than likely gonna lose it by the end of the session. So next session you're gonna come up with a new character that's gonna follow in the footsteps of the previous one, and trying to hopefully it might have a better chance by already having some of the problems solved. That's definitely a thing. from what I know, Mork Bork is some, even though it's not horror, but it does have that kind of dark, gritty, doomed world concept and ideals. It has the same thing where it's kind of meat grindery-esque in the sense that your characters might just be demolished, destroyed, and nothing. It even says if you give it a name, if you want, it's not gonna make them live longer. So yeah, you know, it's mentioned from the very beginning. You know, these characters are just gonna die. That's it. That's all you're gonna get out of it. So that's for sure. And of course, many others are more about the horrors of the inner human, or the general. You know, for example, how like a lot of the World of Darkness kind of focuses on either certain parts of the inner human or outer elements of humanity, or just society as a whole, and you know, it focuses on each system, each splat kind of focuses on different parts of it, like, you know, humanity, aspects of you know, violence, rage, how you control your rage. With, of course, I'm simplifying this. There are better people out there who are more in deep with the World of Darkness shenanigans that know, can explain, you know, the different facets of the inner horrors of the person that are kind of told. Yeah, but it definitely offers a good amount of information overall. Gets the point across in a really quick summarized way. Like, yeah, you get like what, 6 pages of rules, something like that, like 7 pages of rules. So that's perfect. I don't think you need more than that. You just get the bare basics and just a general vibes of it. So yeah, I definitely would, at the very least, for anybody, I would want to say recommend that for anybody who wants to at least give it a try, give it a taster. Yes, definitely take the starter guide. It's on the Chaosium website. You can get it for free, no problems, no questions asked. You're easy to get. And then yeah, as I said before, you then have a starter set that kind of eases you in with additional rules to kind of build the character and make experiences of your own. And then, you know, you can then go with the full buy-in. In case you're not like me, who, you know, I did start initially with a starter guide, with a starter adventure for D&D, because I got the essential kit, which gives you like the bare minimum to make characters and have pre-generated character sheets and all that. But then I was like, I kind of want to play D&D kind of more proper, and I immediately also bought the core rule books, literally the big 3, because I got the big set. You know, I got the player's handbook, the game master guide, and the monster manual. So yeah. Fun times for me indeed. But yeah, anyhow, I think that's more than enough for me. I don't think I'm gonna stick for any longer. We did run for a decent amount of time, over almost 4-ish hours, so I think it's more than enough. So again, it kind of line up pretty perfectly with the quick starter guide that, you know, there was not a lot to cover. So even with me starting an hour later, which again I do apologize, I still ended within a reasonable amount of time, so there's no need for me to stay around for too long, so that's fine. But before I go, as per usual, I do like to check out some other people, although I don't think we're gonna be lucky enough to find. Not sure if there's anybody within the Stream for a Cause peeps that are doing something at the moment. Don't think so. Let me check. Might be somebody. Hold up. Oh, might be 2 people. Very least right now. Yeah, let's see. Okay, perfect. And I think they just started, if I'm not mistaken. They are before in an ad right now. What the hell, Twitch? Why are you doing? right, and I. Okay, yeah, they're a fellow friend, so let's do that. And okay, I first giving the location for the people on YouTube's before we go, and oh, let me grab it here. Channel. Second, start raid. There we go. So there we have it. For anybody new here, when it comes to raiding, these are the usual messages we send out. The first one is for those who do not have access to the subs and our sub-free emotes. The first, then the second one is for those who have access to subs. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today and for the week. There's gonna be a schedule coming tomorrow because the week is gonna start from Monday because I had to shift for a ttrpg charity thing. I'm gonna be part of next week, so that's definitely gonna, so keep an eye out for it. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So yeah, but anyways, once again, we're jumping into Cinderfox. She's doing a 10 Nights of Fright she's part of the 10 Nights of Fright's charity event from Stream for a Cause. She's currently drawing for charity and doing like drawing requests for charity, so currently doing art stuff. So yeah, if you want to show some support and help out a friend, that's gonna be amazing. I'm still gonna probably shout around those socials whenever peeps from within the event are doing things. So yeah, that's definitely gonna happen. Keep an eye out next tomorrow for a schedule, and I'll see you on Monday for some Final Fantasy 14. So thank you so much for being here. You've been amazing. Don't forget that. I'll see you flip side. Bye.